Very good morning, everybody. Today is the third day of our presentations. Semester 3 students are making presentations. In this morning session, let us see the list of the students who are going to make presentations here. I'm sharing a screen. Okay, so on this third day, we have presentations on American literature. AAKASH will begin with ecocritical reading of Robert Frost's poetry, followed by Akshay's presentation on transcendental feminism, exploring gender dynamics in Harry Potter through a transcendentalist lens. BHUMIBA will make it on Transcending Swiftly, a study of transcendentalism in Taylor Swift's lyrics. DARSHAN's presentation on transcendentalism, nature obsession. DHATRI's will be on Blowin in the Wind of Caste, Bob Dylan's song as a catalyst for social justice in Article 15. HARDI's presentation will be on the intersection of fiction and reality, analyzing Mary Tyrone's addiction. HIRAL's on submerged depths, exploring the iceberg theory in literature. MARUNIYA's presentation will be on narrative technique in For Whom the Bell Tolls. JAYSHRI will make it on For Whom the Bell Tolls, a journey through Hemingway's masterpiece. Kavita's presentation on The Tragic Heroine, a deeper look at Mary Tyrone in Long Day's Journey into Night. Kusum's on unveiling Hemingway's narrative silence, the theory of omission. Maya's on language, magic and reality in For Whom the Bell Tolls. Nanda's presentation will be on stopping by woods on a snowy evening and blowing in the wind, a comparative study. And finally, the last one will be by Vishwa on war and its impact on society, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Okay, fine. So we see that quite well the titles are framed and there is no mistake to find out that capitalization or keywords, how they are written. So good to see that there is a correction in everybody's writing of title of the presentations, and some of you have made quite good titles also. We'll see that the presentation also stands up to the mark of the way the title is drafted. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation of the day.
So eco-criticism focused on the analyzing that how natural environment is represented in particular literary texts. And Catherine Dodson, in his articles Introduction to Ecocritical Entangles, talks about the future of this field, in which she talks about the future of the eco-criticism, that it will not be remain the only literary canon in near future, but it will intersect with the various other cultural various other fields of literary theory as well, such as cultural studies, feminist theory, queer theory, post-colonialism, and the post-humanism as well. And the main goal of the eco-critics is to criticize the binaries such as man and nature, or culture or nature, which talk these particular things. They talks about they criticize the person or the people who talks about that humans and natures are basically a separate beings. They are different entities, and they are not interrelated to each other. But ecocritics talks that both the entities are coexisting together. And Wendell Berry, in his work The Unsettling of America, talks that we and our country create one another, depend upon one another, are literally part of one another. Our culture and our place are images of each other and inseparable from each other. Wendell Berry is an American novelist, cultural critic, a farmer, and environmental activist, who in his work talks about the relationship between the human and the nature, particularly in context with human and the land, in which he talks about that human beings sustained from using the lands, by which farming. He talks about that the farming is a cultural and spiritual discipline. Farming is not just a thing, but a cultural practice. And he talks about the emotional connectivity between the nature and the human beings, and particularly between human and nature. And after the Industrial Revolution, these things, that emotional connectivity of the families towards the land is diminished. So our major concern is that, can we analyze the Robert Frost's poem from this eco-critical lens? And if yes, then how can we connect his works as a broader reflection of today's ecological concern, and how we can foster a deeper understanding of our connection to the environment? So Robert Frost is the ecological poet. So Robert Frost was born in California, New England, and he was famous for his depiction of the pastoral life in his works, and he published many collection of the poetry, and for which he also won the Pulitzer Prize as well. One of the pioneer eco-critic, Lawrence Buell's work, The Environmental Imagination, in which he gives us the criteria to analyze the particular text, that whether we can consider or we can see that literary text from the eco-critical perspective or not. And Frost's poem is generally qualifies in the criteria that we can consider his work, and we can evaluate his poems from the eco-critical lens as well. And one of his interview, Robert Frost himself said that, I guess I am not a nature poet. I have written only 2 poems without the human beings in them. So Robert Frost is not merely a nature poet, just as William Wordsworth was, but he also portrayed the human beings. He depicted the human beings in his poetry as well, and thus he brings out the element of the interconnection of the nature and human beings. And this relationship between the civilization and nature is a primary focus of his poetry as well. So I have taken 4 of this poetry to evaluate from this eco-critical lens. First is Mending Walls. Second one is The Road Not Taken. Third is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And the last one is The Tuft of Flowers. So Mending Wall basically talks about the conflict of human beings in the nature. And also this poem employs the idea that human beings and natures are not different things, different entities, but that they are the same. In these lines, the speaker and his neighbor both have the respective trees. Like the speaker has the apple trees, and this neighbor has the pine trees. That these we can connect from the broader perspective, that we as a human beings also live surround in these kind of trees and well. And the wall stands for the metaphorical. Like here it is only wall, But in the broader perspective, if we see like much of the brutalism we see and the concrete jungle that it stands for. And Lawrence Bull says that human beings are ecologically or environmentally embedded. Like human beings are not different from the are not different entities from the nature, but rather they are coexisting together. And also this particular quote by the John F. Lennon, which also wrote the work, the pastoral art of the Robert Frost's poetry. This quote particularly says that interrelationship between the nature and the human beings. Further, the road not taken. Robert Frost considers the nature as a profound teacher, and we have a lot to learn from the natural things. In this particular poetry, he employs the idea that human beings time and again tries to cross the boundaries which is made by the nature, and ultimately this is the futile, because in this poem the man tries to go simultaneously on the both the roads, but it cannot be possible that someone walk on the both the road on the same time. So human beings have to make the choice, and human beings have to remember as well that this choice will be permanent, and they have to face their consequences as well. And by employing this poetry, Frost recognized the man's limitation and insisting upon the boundaries, and the man must maintain with the forces of nature. And this particular quote we can see that this reflects in all of the poetry of the Robert Frost. That Frost's most cheerful nature sketches, there is always a bittersweet quality. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. This is one of the famous poems of the Robert Frost, and this poem is largely evaluated from the eco-critical lens by the critics, and in which we can see the horse is, however, is very much opposed to the halting in the midst of dark, where our speaker is there and he is admiring the snowy evening, and he is in the jungle and he does not want to go towards his duties and responsibilities. But here horse is there to remind his duties and responsibilities. And woods here word is one of the ambiguous word which also stand for the irrationality of the human being, and also woods symbolizes the loveliness that life holds, and at the same time the darkness that different stages of the life holds, and the negativity as well. And the last two lines of the poems are the most famous and holds the different contextual meanings. First, it tells the reader about the distance that our speaker has tried in order to reach to his destination. And the last one it talks distance in the terms of we have to travel the journey before we reach to our final destination, and which is death. And the last one is the Duft of Flower. This poem significantly portrays the interrelation and the coexisting nature of the man and nature. And in this poem describes the moment in speaker life when the speaker goes into the freshly cut grass leaves, in which he was in search of the morning dew on the flower. But there is no flower. Flower is seen in the field, and he was meditating on his existence at the time, and he feels that he is lonely in the nature. But at the same time, a wandering butterfly intruded here. There comes a butterfly, and butterfly guides the speaker's way through towards the duft of flower. And the butterfly search leads the speaker to discover the duft of flower. By having the butterfly guides his perspective, Frost illustrates that non-human creatures can reshape the human's perception towards the looking of the nature. And further, Lawrence Bull further argues that engagement of the eco-criticism should lead towards the environmental justice, and as well as the criticism focused on the environmental justice for minority population, such as tribal peoples and all that, because tribal people are those who lives close into the nature and towards the jungle. So you might have aware about the recent ecological environmental crisis of Ladakh, where Sonam Wangchuk, one of the environmental activists, alongside with the thousands of people, had on the climate fast because of the environmental crisis there, and they wants to save the fragile environment of the Ladakh, in which she says that there is an urgent need to save the entire Himalaya and make the governments reconsider several times before they chop the land and sell it to companies. So, in conclusion, we can see that there is all in the poetry of the Robert Frost, there is a human element we can see, but it is also contains the strong ecological dimension, and it also fits into the criteria that is given by the Lawrence Buell. His poetry through the ecocritical lens, and viewing Robert Frost through an ecocritical lens shows him a poet deeply aware of the interconnectedness between the nature and the human society. So these are some resources, and thank you.
Akash, my question is, how does Frost explore humanity's relations with nature? Does he emphasize the harmony, conflicts, or something else?
Just like I would just talk about the poems, The Tuft of Flowers and the Snowy Evening, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evenings, in which he says he does emphasize about the harmony, conflict, and on something else as well, in which he also says that basically the nature and humans are interconnected and they coexisting, that we have seen in the Tuft of Flowers, where a butterfly guides his way through the towards the tuft of flowers, and in which we can see that how these things, non-human things, and can reshape the human's perception towards the nature and all the things, and conflict that we have seen in the mending walls, that human beings are constantly at the conflicts with each other and with nature as well. So yes, Robert Frost does talks about the human relationship in the context of harmony, conflict as well.
Can you discuss any specific poem by Robert Frost that exemplify eco-critical themes?
Yes, the poems all I have taken that talks about the eco-critical themes, like Mending Walls, The Road Not Taken, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, and The Tuft of Flowers. These all poems does talks about these eco-critical themes. Thank you.
Both these questions were already directly answered in the presentation. So there is no purpose of asking the same thing again. If you listen the presentation, then that is the presentation is all about that. Now, based on that, you have to frame another question for further asking the thing. It should not be already said things.
Hello everyone, very good morning to all. Today I am here with the presentation on Transcendental Feminism, exploring gender dynamics in Harry Potter through a transcendentalist lens. So as we all know, Harry Potter is a very famous series written by the British author J.K. Rowling, with the content and fantasy novel. And Transcendentalism is a literary, spiritual, and philosophical movement which is developed in 1820 to 1830 in United States of America. Here is my information. Let's see some gender dynamics in Harry Potter. The first is gender representation. The Harry Potter series featuring strong, complex female characters like Hermione Granger, who challenges traditional gender roles and norms. Patriarchal structure. So, however, the wizarding world also reflects patriarchal power structure with the Ministry of Magic and Howards being male-dominated institution. The third one is feminist resistance. Characters like Professor McGonagall and Ginny Weasley resist this patriarchal force, showcasing the series' underlying feminist theme. Last one is gender identity. The series also explores gender identity through characters like Remus Lupin, whose lycanthropy can be seen as a metaphor for marginalized identities. Let's see some transcendentalist theme in Harry Potter. The innate power of the individual and self-reliance are major themes exemplified by Harry's journey of personal growth and his defense of authority figures. Reverence for the natural world and connection to the spiritual realm are prominent seen through magical creature incarnated landscape and the role of divination. Nonconformity and questioning societal norms are celebrated as characters like Hermione challenges the statue quo and strive for justice and equality. Feminist theme in Harry Potter. The first one is heroic females. The Harry Potter series features strong independent female characters like Hermione Granger and Minerva McGonagall, who defy traditional gender roles and inspiring young readers. The second one is dismantling patriarchy. The magical worlds of Harry Potter challenges patriarchal structure, showcasing women in position of power and authority, such as Dolores Umbridge and Bellatrix Lestrange. Intersectionality. The series explores intersections of gender, race, and class, highlighting the experiences of diverse characters like Fleur, Delacour, and CHAUHAN. Let's see intersection of transcendentalism and feminism. Transcendentalism and feminism share a deep connection rooted in their shared emphasis on individual empowerment, nonconformity, and challenges societal norms. Both movements sought to liberate the human spirit and champion the inherent worth and dignity of all people. The transcendentalist ideas of self-reliance, institution, and the divinity with each person align closely with feminist principles of gender equality, women's rights, and the rejection of patriarchal structure. This intersection inspired pioneering feminist thinkers like Margaret Fuller to explore the intersections of these powerful philosophies. In Transcendentalism, Margaret Fuller and Ralph Waldo Emerson, they both are major contributors. The Transcendentalist essay of Margaret Fuller, Ralph Waldo Emerson were influenced in shaping 19th century American thought. Fuller, the great lawsuit, advocates for women's rights and individual autonomy. Emerson's self-reliance emphasized the importance of non-conformity and self-reliance in achieving personal growth. Let's see Margaret Fuller, the great lawsuit, men versus men and woman versus woman, in connection with the Harry Potter. In her breaking essay, Margaret Fuller explores the theme of gender equality and the need for women to assert their rightful place in society. She challenged the patriarchal structure, the confined women advocating for their intellectual and spiritual emancipation. Fuller's idea resonated deeply with the gender dynamics portrayed in the Harry Potter series, where powerful witches like Hermione Granger and Professor McGonagall defy traditional gender roles and prove their worth through intelligence, bravery, and magical prowess. Ralph Waldo Emerson's self-reliance in the connection of Harry Potter. Emerson's seminal essay, Self-Reliance, extols the virtue of individualism, non-conformity, and trusting one's own institution. It calls on readers to resist the pleasure of society and embrace their authentic selves, even in the face of criticism or rejection. In the Harry Potter series, the themes of self-reliance and non-conformity are embodied by characters like Hermione Granger, who buck societal expectations and trust her own intellect and moral compass. Let's see the character of Hermione Granger, the independence and self-reliance. Hermione Granger exemplified the transcendentalist value of independence and self-reliance. As a Mughal-born witch, Hermione faces prejudice in the wizarding world, but overcomes this through her own hard work and determination. Hermione becomes the top student in her class, demonstrating mastery of magic and academic through her own effort. Hermione does not rely on her male counterparts, Harry and Ron, to solve problems. Instead, Hermione uses her intelligence and extensive knowledge to help the boys navigate challenges. This independence and self-reliance align with the transcendentalist belief that women should find solutions to their own issues through internal growth and self-improvement. Examples include Hermione using a time turner to take multiple courses and her thinking to save her friends from danger. By portraying Hermione in this way, the Harry Potter series represent a departure from traditional passive female tropes, embodying the transcendentalist idea of the empowered, self-reliant individual. Hermione's character reflects Rowling's feminist approach and the influence of transcendentalists through on her writing. Some other examples of transcendental feminism in Harry Potter, except Hermione, Professor McGonagall's authority. Professor Minerva McGonagall, the powerful and respected transfiguration teacher, reflects the transcendental notion of the individual in her inherent divinity and importance of challenges societal expectations. Luna Lovegood's non-conformity. Luna Lovegood's eccentricity and unwavering self-expression align with transcendental ideas of individuality and the rejection of societal pleasure, showcasing the feminist spirit. Ginny Weasley. Ginny Weasley's prowess in Quidditch, a traditionally male-dominating sport, embodies the transcendental beliefs in the inherent strength and capability of individual regardless of gender. In conclusion, empowering narratives. The future of magical storytelling lies in narratives that empower women and challenge traditional gender dynamics inspired by transcendentalist principle of individualism and self-reliance. The second point is diverse perspective. As more diverse voice, the perspectives are amplified in the fantasy genre. The intersection of transcendentalism and feminism will continue to shape the evolution of magical narratives. Boundless imagination. The limitless potential of the magical realm provides an idea canvas for exploring gender identity and the human condition through a transcendental feminist lens. A magical future. By embracing the transformative power of transcendental feminism, the future of magical storytelling will inspire readers to challenge societal norms and forge their own extraordinary path. Here are some references.
Akshay, my question is which other character in Harry Potter embodies a feminist spirit?
Except Hermione Granger, the other characters who share feminist spirit is Professor McGonagall.
Akshay, how do you see the concept of harmony within the context of series Harry Potter and the Transcendentalism?
So, harmony in Harry Potter, in my point of view, is like be with everyone fairly and without see the differences of any other, and stand up with everyone and against with unfair treatments.
Hello everyone, I am BHUMIBA GOHIL, and for my today's presentation topic is Transcending Swiftly, a study of Transcendentalism in Taylor Swift lyrics. These are my academic information. So let us first start with understanding what is Transcendentalism. It is a philosophical and literary movement of 19th century, and it started in the New England region of United States. And the most pioneers of this are Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Margaret Fuller. Now, Transcendentalism has an emphasis on inherent goodness of people and nature, and importance of individual intuition and self-reliance, and belief in the unity of universe and the divine presence in all aspects of life. Now, for a brief introduction of Taylor Swift, she's an American singer and songwriter, and she mostly sings in country and pop genre. She has won multiple Grammy Awards and has record-breaking album sales, and is currently a global icon. Through my presentation, I'll try to explore how does Taylor Swift's music reflect the principle of transcendentalism, particularly in terms of individualism, connection to nature, and self-reliance. So I will explain the concept, and we will try to see the examples from her songs. Self-reliance. So it is a prominent theme in transcendentalism. It basically means following one's own intuition and instincts, and not blindly following tradition and authority and doing what others say. And self-reliance is basically an authentic self-expression. And Emerson believed that self-expression of a person, like the great people around us, they are true to oneself, and they show this infinite potential of human being. And we should strive to show our own individuality, and this will lead to empowerment and fulfillment. As he says, trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. The first song I would like to examine is You're on Your Own, Kid. This is a song from Midnight's Outdoor, and the entire song is actually based on self-reliance. But these lines in particular, if you look at it, it shows the confidence in oneself, that I looked around in a blood-soaked ground and I saw something they can take away. It shows the belief in one's own strength. And it says that, as Emerson said, that one should pursue their own passion and dreams boldly. So the same idea can be seen here. So make the friendship bracelets, take the moment and taste it. You've got no reason to be afraid. And again, the assurance that you're on your own, kid, but you can face this. And this shows the as I said, self-reliance and the confidence in oneself that they can do what they desire. Another song is Long Story Short. Here, if you see from the very first line, it says that I try to pick my battles till the battle picks me. So it shows the power in our lives that we hold, even if it is limited at some point. Sometimes we think that nothing is in our hands, but we still have to make the choices we can make and try to acknowledge our own decisions in it. If you see here again, there is the idea of self-belief that and we live in peace, but if someone comes at us this time, I'm ready. And the last one is about survival. And even after all the tumultuous times and all the hardships faced, there is still hope, because as the lyric says that, and I fell from the pedestal right down the rabbit. Long story short, it was a bad time, but pushed from the precipice, climbed back right up the cliff. And long story short, I survived. This shows that self-reliance and also the confidence that no matter what happens, they will manage to survive. Another concept is individuality. Individuality and self-reliance are very much correlated in Transcendentalism. And as Joseph Blau said, that Emerson's concept of Transcendentalist individualism is a social philosophy, not just egotistical individualism. And Emerson believed in the moral worth and dignity of each person, and that everybody deserves respect. And they individuals, as I said earlier, they represent humanity's highest potential that everyone should strive for. As David Light says, that the Emerson paradox is when an individual realizes his uniqueness. He realizes his universality. A great man or a genius accordingly is neither an egocentric individualist who has little or nothing in common with others, or a talented individual who embodies normative values of society, but an individual whose innate uniqueness possesses universal characteristics. Emerson's individualism may be designated as transcendental in distinction to romantic and rationalistic individualism. So here what he's trying to say is that Emerson says that individualism in such a way that you are not completely alienated from society. We have to live in it and we have to coexist with other people around in it. But it is, and not to be very much following the authority and norms and whatever they're saying. We should have some sort of individuality, a balance between the both. And Taylor Swift, I think, embodies this because her songs are basically written from personal experiences, yet a wide amount of audience says that they find it very relatable. So she embodies this balance. One of her most famous songs, Shake It Off, shows this. She says that no matter, Shake It Off is actually written on criticism, harsh criticism that she used to get in that time. And she says that even if, no matter what the critique says, no matter what everybody says, we have to trust in ourselves and not dim our own light. We have to show our individuality. And she says that she can't stop, won't stop moving because she's got this music in my mind and saying it's going to be all right. So there is again this self-assurance in oneself. And the individuality can be seen here as well, that I'm dancing on my own and I make the moves up as I go. And that's what they don't know. Here they refers to the critiques and the judgmental people around her, that they are judging her, but they don't know that this is who she is. Another one is bejeweled. Here a metaphor of a diamond is used by her. And she says that every individual, she says that they are like diamonds and one should not let others dim their own light. So we should be true to ourselves and let our individuality shine. And there is, as I said, the self-belief is very much prominent in her lyrics. We see here as well that best believe I'm still bejeweled. When I walk in the room, I can still make the whole place shimmer. So there is a idea that through individuality, a lot of things can be achieved. Now, connection to nature. This is again one of the core philosophy of Transcendentalism. They believe that nature is a manifestation of divine and a means for spiritual enlightenment. And nature is seen as a source of truth, beauty, and regeneration for the human soul. Thoreau experienced transcendental ideas by living simply at Walden Pond and immersing himself in nature. And the Transcendentalist argued that understanding nature could lead to self-discovery, moral development, and access to universal laws and wisdom that religions and institutions could not provide. The similar idea is seen in Taylor Swift's song "The Licks," in which she urges as an artist, she urges that she wants to live in an isolated land on a back pond alone, and where she could be around her muses, and she could find creativity. And this is very much the similar idea of Henry David Thoreau as well, because he also lived in the Walden Pond, as we know. And there are many other references to nature as well. If you see here, I want auroras and sad prose. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare feet. So then there is another one. A red rose grew up out of ice frozen ground with no one around to meet it. So in this way, to nature is done. And yeah, so these are a few examples. So from this exploration, we find that modern expression of transcendental philosophy can be seen in Taylor Swift's music and songs. And she encourages through her song to her listeners to embrace their individuality, explore their identity, and find solace in the natural world. And through this analysis, we see the relevance of transcendental philosophy in modern popular culture as well. So these were my references, and thank you. Now for any questions.
Bhumi, do you think Taylor Swift intentionally incorporate transcendentalist principle into her music, or is it more of subconscious influence?
I think it is more of a subconscious influence. As we know, Transcendentalism is an American philosophy, and you will find it deep-rooted in American thinking as well. The idea of equality among everyone, and as I said, enchantment to nature, because they do have cities over there. And from that life, they want an escape. So maybe I think it is a subconscious influence.
So, Bhumi, do you know any other pop singer aside from Taylor Swift who incorporates transcendental themes into their work?
Yes, I think Harry Styles is one. Lana Del Rey also explores these themes. Other than that, you can also find these themes in songs of Olivia Rodrigo. So these are some artists. Thank you.
Hello and good morning, everyone. I am myself Darshan Vag, and I am here with the presentation Transcendentalism, Nature Obsession. This is my personal information. So we through this presentation we will explore the role of nature in Transcendentalism. So Transcendentalism was a 19th century American philosophical movement that was led by Ralph Waldo Emerson. This movement emphasized intuition, individualism, and a deep connection to nature. They believed that by communing with nature, they could experience a higher reality and achieve a deeper understanding of themselves. Nature was a central thing to their philosophy. These are some key figures of Transcendentalism, in which we see Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Margaret Fuller, Lydia Maria Child, and Amos Bronson Alcott. So, Transcendentalists see nature as a divine force. Ralph Waldo Emerson gave a term called oversoul in his essay Nature. So, oversoul simply means that it is a divine spirit and it connects all living things and natural order like an invisible web. And by immersing oneself in nature, one could access the oversoul and experience the higher reality and deep connection with divine. And they emphasized a personal connection with divine through nature and bypassing the need of traditional religious dogma. So they believe that nature is the thing instead of religion to access the higher reality. So they, by going through nature, they believe that nature itself is a sacred thing and a divine thing. So I'm here quoting Emerson, in which one philosophical essay of his, Nature, he wrote that the aspect of nature is devout like the figure of Jesus. And she stands with bended head and hands folded upon the breast. So it shows that Emerson, who is a prominent figure of this particular movement, sees nature as a godly figure. So Transcendentalists believe that nature is a more reliable source of truth than a traditional institution like religion or government. Like we see any other religion, they have their particular gods, and they believe that it is the ultimate truth. In which in Transcendentalism, we see that they see nature as a true source and a godly figure. But the difference is that we can see the nature, we can see the physical form of nature, and we can experience nature. Henry David Thoreau, another important transcendentalist, expressed this in his Walden writing. So Walden is basically a book written by Henry David Thoreau. It was published in 1854, and it has a great value in American literature, in which he says that I went to the woods because I wished to live in deliberately, to front only the essential fact of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not. When I came to die, discover that I had not lived. So Walden, Henry David Thoreau has experienced nature in his life, and he wrote his experience in this very book Walden, in which he shares the intimacy of nature that he felt during the 2 years of living in the nature near Walden Pond in America. So Transcendentalists see nature as a teacher who can teach them self-reliance, simplicity, and the importance of living in harmony. So Emerson in his nature says that the woods were made for man and not man for woods. In man is all the intelligence of vegetable and animal kingdom and of the new geology. Is it not the chief use of the outer world to educate the inner world? So Transcendentalists are highly critical about the industrialism because it obviously destroys the nature and it alienating people from the natural world. Through that time, some people have argued that without industrialism, we cannot provide the essential things to the society. So the Thoreau's experiment of living in nature is a direct challenge to this value of industrialism. We believe that a simple life lived in harmony with the nature was preferable to the materialism and consumerism of the industrial age. So Transcendentalist authors in nature. So first we see Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is a prominent leader of Transcendentalism. Emerson believes that in inherent goodness of nature and its ability to connect us to the oversoul, universal spiritual force. He expressed this view in his essay Nature and Other Works. Second is Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau is famously lived a simple life, a Walden Pond, to immerse himself in a nature and explores spiritual and philosophical depths. He documented his experience in Walden, as we discussed before. Margaret Fuller is also an influential transcendentalist. Fuller saw nature as a source of empowerment and individual growth, particularly for women. She believed that connecting with nature could help women break free from societal constraints. And last, we see Walt Whitman, who is also a prominent poet in the American literature. He was also heavily influenced with this movement ideas about nature. And in his poems, such as A Song of Myself and Leaves of Grass, he praises and celebrates the interconnectedness of nature and humanity. So to conclude, Transcendentalism or Transcendentalist believe that nature is the source of their truth. Nature is something divine. Through nature, they can access the higher reality, or they can access the oversoul, we can say. And it highly critical about the industrialism, and they believe living in nature, in harmony, and abandon the materialistic aspect of human life. These are the sources you can visit for further reading. Thank you. Now I would like to have your questions.
Darshan, how can we view nature as divine when it constantly presents challenges that threaten our existence?
So transcendentalists see nature as a divine source. It depends on individual perspective to whether you see nature as a divine or not. But to explore this further, we have to see the nature of dual nature of natural world. That on the one hand, nature is providing us the resources like water, food, and oxygen to survive us. And the other hand, nature is destructive. Like we see the natural force, like blasting volcano, or we have seen the many calamities like tsunami. So it depends on individual perception that how one can see whether he can see nature as a divine or not. Next, please.
Darshan, are there any modern environmental movements or ideas that can trace their roots back to transcendentalist thought?
We see many environmental activists nowadays, like Greta Thunberg. But while researching for this topic, I came across a movement called deep ecology, in which this particular movement argues about equal rights of every living being, whether it is needful to humans or not. So there are many movements and many activists nowadays that can trace the roots of transcendentalism. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I am DHATRI PARMAR, and today's my topic of presentation is Blowing in the Wind of Caste, Bob Dylan's song as a catalyst for social justice in Article 50. Bob Dylan is a renowned lyricist who got the Nobel Prize in 2016. If we talk about the caste system, so it's prevailed in India way back. The Dalit people especially, known as untouchable, they are constantly discriminated in India. And art and music especially paved the way to have an ask for justice, and in which Bob Dylan's song turned into the catalyst that questioned the social justice and prevailed system, that how they are discriminating it. It directly gives the reference to the movie Article 15 by Anubhav Sinha, and the movie begins with that, and that leads to the very question of blowing in the wind. Nobel Prize committee gave the Nobel Prize to the Bob Dylan and announced that they are giving them for having created a new poetic expression within a great American song tradition. The question which can be raised is, how does it incorporate with the movie, and is there any challenges like caste-based discrimination, and is there any social justice with this narrative of the film?
Talking about the ugly realities prevailing in India, especially that by the constitution, by the establishment of the constitution, we are at the stage that there is no need of any disparity based on the caste. However, there is people known as untouchable constantly face the discrimination. Not just only that, they face the harsh reality with the verbal and non-verbal violence, within the even the physical violence as well. Based on just which is accident, they are facing the problems like lack of access in education and employment. However, at the surface level, they are not facing this. But if we go deep into the prevailing system, we find out that they are facing this discrimination, and they are economically depraved from that, and they are exploited by the prevailing system. Now, the Dylan's song is a kind of poetic reckoning that in 1963 he wrote the song and he published this song, and it is turned to be the protest song and a kind of a freedom song that gave the voice, especially in America, because at that time in America there was an emergence of racism issues and there is a black people. So injustice was going on, and Dylan's song is turned to be the anthem of them. And it also questioned the institutionalized injustice and inequality which is prevailed in society, and the refrain which is constantly there that Einstein is my friend is blowing in the wind is involved the asking for the social justice based on the casteism, racism, or even the warfare. This song is particularly Alex Harris in his article, The Impact of Meaning of Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind, talks about that this song is directly addressing the racial equality and climate of social upheaval. And it also gives the voice of oppressed people to the American people. The song only having three things, that voice of Bob Dylan, guitar, and harmonica. And with this, it turned into the anthem of the people. And the protest song altogether turned to be the generation cry that they are standing and see their voice. And songs like Waka Waka by Shakira, that also a kind of a song that gave the voice. So this kind of song turned to be the voice. It also captured this 1960s zeitgeist, and especially with the Peter, Paul, and Mary who covered his song. And with this, it turned into be the generation anthem. Talking about what is the Article of 15 of Constitution. So it prohibits the discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Within these marks, do not discriminate people. And even on the places like shops, public restaurants, hotels, place of public entertainment, never, these all things we learn into the higher education. However, it is not applicable. While we are going into directly in the realities, there is a quite contrast behavior with that. Even the use of well, tennis, bathing gates, roads, and place of public resort also cannot be discriminated based on just the birth identity, that is the Dalit people. Talking about the movie, which was directed by Anubhav Sinha, it directly talks about, the movie begins with the song, the Blowing in the Wind. The very first line of the song, I quote, "How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?" Unquote. This lyrics directly talks about the protagonist of the movie, Ayan, who constantly, from the beginning of the movie to end of the movie, working for the Dalit people. As soon as he comes across to the reality of discriminating behavior and exploitation of Dalit people within the movie, he started doing work on that. However, there is a constant resistance from the society, from the authority towards him. So that these lines is directly connected with the protagonist, Ayan, with that. And however, Ayan tries his best, and at the end he got the result. But these lines can directly evoke the very reality of the Article 15 movie. Another line I quote, yes, and how many seas must a white dove sail before she slips in ascent, unquote. Now, this line is directly the story of Article 15 reveals around two girls raped and murdered by their landlords. Now, they are working there and they were raped by them. And the two girls' justice was asked constantly in the movie, and the movie revolves around this story that they are asking for their justice and the punishment for the criminals. Now, their lives was sacrificed, and moreover, so many lives were sacrificed. So there is a she. She sleeps. So now this she is directly referred to these girls who murdered and raped in the movie. This haunting photograph can reflect the very idea and how the stories were made based on this, that they were homosexual and that is why they were doing suicide. So now how these systems are making these stories, that also kind of a question. Another line I quote, yes, and how many years can some people exist before they allowed to be free? Unquote. Now, the right side of the slides, you can find out the photos, which is the very harsh reality of the present day too. If we go into the village, then it is there. There is an kind of law that we cannot put people in the gutters, especially scavengers. We have to use machines. However, in the villages and even in some of the area of cities, we are doing that. People are going in the gutters, and now this is a kind of horrible that they are men and still they are doing such things that cannot be justified on the basis of their just birth. So this horrific working condition also addresses the villain's idea of that how many years they will have to do this work to be free from this. Another is Lalgaon, the very village of the Article 15 movie, is a metaphor of oppression. The line, I quote, yes, and how many times must cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? I end quote. These lines directly refers to warfare. However, we can connect it with the Lalgaon village, that it is the geographical area where all this injustice, all these humanizing things were taking place. So Lalgaon itself turned into be the metaphor of that, and it also challenges the societal fabric of it, and it also portrays the corruption which is prevailing in the village. People were willfully blind, so they are able to see whatever the reality is. Even the police system and the bureaucratic system are able to see whatever is happening within the village. However, the answer cannot be found in the movie. Another line I quote, yes, and how many times can a man turn his head pretending he just doesn't see? I quote. Now, this line directly referred to the police system and bureaucratic system. They are trying to be in favor of the power and not in favor of the people. And so, how many times they are turning their face from the very reality of the people and their injustice, and they are turning their face from that. Another line I quote, yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people's cry? And what now this cry of the people, cry of their injustice and their marginalization and their exploitation can be worse or not, and how many times it will take. Another line I quote, yes, and how many deaths will take it till he knows that too many people have died, unquote. Now, these deaths, there are numbers of deaths in the movies taking place just because of this case, rape case against their honors of that. Real life some examples that very renowned news anchor, which is the face of the kind of a face of news, and they are stating in today's time as well to Adivasi people as coming from jungle, like these lines of him, news anchor, that आज उनके लिए एक तरीके से वैसा ही होगा कि जैसे वो 20-30-40 साल पहले वापस आने किसी आदिवासी के तौर पर जंगल में चले. Now this jungle, and he is also questioning that क्या SC/ST Act जो है उसे उनकी शक्ति और बंधनी होनी चाहिए. Now he is directly questioning the very constitution and their rights in that. So if the news anchors are doing such things, then this leads to the direct real life examples that even the Dalit CM, Hemant Soren, is whether he is criminal or not, without he is knowing that or without the confirmation of that, they are questioning this. And they are using such words which can be prohibited by the Prohibition Act of the SC/ST people. Another example is of the Dalit scholars discrimination in the university. Now, Honan Zafar and Rupinder Singh, in his article, Dalit Scholars Protest Exposes Casteism in India's Higher Education, highlighted this incident which took place in 2020. That Dr. Singh, she is the assistant professor, was the assistant professor in the university. However, based on just her born, she was eliminated from the university, and now she protested against the university that you cannot discriminate me based on the my birth kind of a things. And this also leads to the point that this all things happens in higher education. Now they are educated people, they know the constitution, they are teaching the constitution. Still, this kind of things are taking place in the universities. Now this raises a question that how far it is justifiable. So in the conclusion, however, both things like popular song, Blowing in the Wind and Article 15 is separated, but they share the common thread of social justice, social equity in that. And that both talks about the realities or failings of the society in giving the equality to the people. And the only answer that Bob Dylan is telling in that, the answer is, my friend, Blowing in the Wind, and the answer for us is Indian Constitution. That can be our savior in these cases of especially discrimination. So the message is clear that dismantling systematic discrimination requires not silence, but personal awakening that ignites the collective action. And with this kind of songs of Bob Dylan, movies and literature, we can voice this marginalization and social inequality prevailing in the society. These are my references, and thank you. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
So, Dhatri, my question is, while it is undeniable that Dalits faces societal challenges, but when we addressing crimes, should we refrain from bringing caste into the discussion?
Like in the case of crime, it is always about the power and who holds the power. Whether it is the people, like especially Dalit people, if we found out their contribution, whether in any institutionalized thing, whether there is a job and anything, or even the government jobs. So within even the movie, Article 15, there is a police station. Within that police station, there is a discrimination of Dalit police. However, they are a higher cadet before of that peoples within the police system. Now, this highlights that within the police system there is prevailing this. So, while we're talking about particularly crime, that who will stand for them? So, it's not just based, while it's coming to the Dalit people, to the marginalized people, ST/ST people, there is always a question that who will stand for them and who will voice them. So if there is no choice for them, like the power always is of the, like in the India most of the time, there is a 70 to 80% of the time, there is power within the hand of a higher people, higher caste people. So are they able to stand for them? Whether they are not discriminating the Dalit peoples based on their caste, then in the talking about the crime, we can eliminate the word and we can eliminate their, whatever their traits is there. So there is a question of the power, that if the Dalit people have a power, then we can address the crime. But if they don't have a power, then we have to stand for them and while addressing any issue.
My question is that, do you believe that cultural expressions like music and cinema have the power to challenge deeply ingrained social structures and biases such as caste system in India?
Yes, I believe that music and cinema, even the literature, have the ability to drive a social change. However, the impact of it can take time, but the music, like a Bob Dylan song, turned into the protest song, and like the Article 15, it challenges the very society or very systematic operation which is there in the society. So, in that case, cinema, like Article 15, or like there, that cinema, then also we have to consider that cinema who kind of and talking about the marginalized people and the societal injustice and inequity and prejudice, that not that who are provocating this thing. So we have to eliminate that cinema who is provocating this thing. So music and cinema have this ability to drive the social change, which is deeply related, deeply rooted in the society. Yes, thank you so much.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is HARDI and I'm going to deal with the topic of married Tyrone, a symbol of addiction. This is my personal information, table of content, and introduction of Eugene O'Neill. Eugene O'Neill was born on October 16, 1888, New York, US, and died on November 27, 1953, Boston, Massachusetts. Eugene O'Neill was the foremost American dramatist, Nobel Prize winner for literature in 1936. His master, Long Day's Journey into the Night, 1956, was a masterpiece of him, and he produced posthumously. His notable plays, Beyond the Horizon, 1920, and Christie, 1922, Strange Interlude, 1928, Wilderness, 1933, and The Iceman Comet, 1946. Here is the little introduction of novel play. It is the play won Pulitzer Prize winning play, American masterpiece by Eugene O'Neill. It is an autobiographical portrayal of the dysfunctional family's day. James Tyrone, who is the vain, self-obsessed, and miserly retired actor, Mary Tyrone, who is the wife of the James Tyrone, sinks into the morphine industry. He is feeling worthless. Jamie, who is the bitter alcoholic son. Edmund, who is the consumptive younger son. Illness ignored by father. Themes of addiction, family, and dynamics are hidden motives. Overview of the plays. Play was set in 1912. The play takes place over the course of a day in the Tyrone's family's summer home. The family consists of James Tyrone, his wife Mary, and their sons Jamie and Edmund. The family members struggles with addiction, illness, and buried secrets. Mary Tyrone is addicted to morphine, which she began taking after the birth of her youngest son, Edmund. Jamie battles alcoholism and resentment towards his family. Edmund is diagnosed with tuberculosis, which exacerbates the family's tension and fear. James Tyrone, former actor, is haunted by past decision and financial worries. Throughout the day, the family members confront each other and their own demons, leading to the moments of the both tension and tenderness. The play explored the themes of family dysfunction, regret, and the search for the meaning in the face of the despair. Despite their conflicts and shortcomings, the tired family members ultimately find the solace and connection in their share shared history and love for each other. Second one is motherhood problems of Mary Tyrone. As the family history unfolds, is the play we learn that the series of the unhappy events that eventually led to Mary Tyrone's morphine addiction began with the early death of the second son Eugene. She's stricken with guilt and feeling like an unfit mother. Mary determined to have no more children, but convinced by James that a new baby would make her forget her grief, and she gave birth to Edmund. And Mary recalls her pregnancy like, I was afraid all the time. I carried Edmund. I knew something terrible would happen. I knew. I had proved by way I left Eugene that I wasn't worthy to have another baby, and that good God would punish me if I did. I never should have born Edmund. Mary's childbirth recovery reflects the perception of divine punishment, exacerbated by negligent medical care and social neglect of spiritual language. The doctor's indifferent treatment mirrors modern society's exploration and disregard for both human suffering and the environment. James Tyrone's hiring of a nurse further isolates Mary, leading to the increased dependency on morphines to alleviate loneliness. Historical interpretation of labor pain and lactation and punishment perpetuate patriarchal views of female sexuality and motherhood. The Fat Violet episode symbolizes Mary's descent into addiction and the societal condemnation juxtaposed with Jamie's struggle with alcoholism. Mary's association with the Fat Violet underscores the marginalized status of mothers within patriarchal culture. Thus, the Mary's illness, her poor post-colonial convalescence, which she takes to be the patriarchal God's punishment of her, and her ensuing morphine addiction can be seen as a modern culture disease caused by patriarchal and materialistic values in combination. Third one is familial dysfunction. Mary Tyrone struggles with the morphine addiction stemming from a past illness. Her addiction causes emotional distance and dysfunction with the family. Mary's denial of the addiction exacerbates the family's problem. She yearns for her youth and resents her current life, it leading to bitterness. Mary's unresolved issues contributes to families' inability to communicate effectively. Her attempts to escape reality through drugs further isolate her from her family. Mary's addiction reflects the broader theme of escapism in the play. Her behavior underscores the destructive impact of an untreated mental health issue in the family. Mary's struggles highlighting the cyclical nature of dysfunction within the Tyrone family. Despite the moments of clarity, Mary ultimately remains trapped in her addiction, perpetuating the family's dysfunction. Fourth one is generational trauma and cycle of addiction. Mary Tyrone's generational trauma was trapped in a cycle of addiction passed down through her family's history of substance abuse and dysfunction. Tyrone family's integrational struggle was reflects the pervasive impact of trauma and substance generation, perpetuating patterns of addiction and dysfunction. Mary's addiction was symbolized the inheritance of pain and coping mechanism from previous generations, manifesting in her struggle with drugs. Mary's cycle of addiction was mirrors the cyclical nature of trauma as she grapples with her own demons while unwittingly passing on her struggles or her children. Tyrone's family dynamics was highlighting the complex interplay between individual choice and inherited trauma, which shaping each character's journey within the play. O'Neill utilized the Tyrants to explore the intricate dynamics of family relationship, aiming for the deeper understanding of familial bonds. Alcoholism threatens the cohesion of the Tyrant family, leading to a sense of entrapment and isolation among its members. Mary's loneliness and chemical dependency stem from a profound sense of disconnection and unmet needs within her family. Mary's aspiration for freedom clashes within the societal expectation imposed upon her as a wife and mother. The Tyrants, whom represent a space divide of Mary's influence symbolize her unfulfilled dreams and aspiration. Mary's drug abuse may stem from a desperate attempt to regain control and escape her present circumstances. Mary's unwavering ideal of home hinders her ability to adapt to reality, perpetuating her sense of dissatisfaction and longing. O'Neill highlights the struggle between fantasy and reality within the context of familial relationship, emphasizing consequences of unmet expectation and suppressed desires. In a conclusion, in Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into the Night, Mary Tyrant serves as a poignant symbol of addiction, embodying complex themes of motherhood struggles, familiar dysfunction, and the perpetuation of generational trauma and addiction cycle. Through her character, O'Neill illustrates the devastating impact of addiction on individuals and families, which highlights the interplay between personal struggles and broader societal issues. Mary Tyrant's portrayal underscores the pervasive nature of addiction and the profound effect on both the individual and those closest to them, and resonating with audience as a poignant reflection of the human condition. Here are my resources, and thank you. If you have any question, you can ask.
So, Hardi, my question is, what role does Mary Tyrant's morphine addiction play in the family dynamics?
Mary's addiction, Mary Tyrant's morphine addiction plays a vital role in the family. It causes the emotional distance with all the three family members, with her husband and all her two sons.
Hadi, my question is for you. How does Mary's recovery reflect the perception of divine punishment? How is it connected to societal neglect of spiritual anguish?
Mary's recovery reflects the perception of divine punishment. She believed that she did some wrong things. That's why her first son Eugene had passed away, and it is connected to the societal neglect spiritually, that so people used to tell her that she did so many wrong things in her past, and that's why God gave her this kind of punishment. That's it. Thank you.
So, very good morning, everyone. I'm HIRAL VAITHA, and I'm going to deal with submerged depths of exploring the iceberg theory in literature. So, these are my academic information, table of content, and introduction of the presentation. I prompt ChatGPT to give interesting and explanative concept of the whole presentation. So it gave me this kind of introduction that Ernest Hemingway is a literary icon renowned for his succinct prose and powerful storytelling. He in this introduction, I am going to deal with the iceberg theory in the literature, in the different works, and the whole literature. And this approach emphasizes the minimalism, where the majority of the narrative depth lies the beneath of the surface. As we explore the Hemingway's techniques in the we uncover layer of the meaning of emotion, enriching our understanding of literature's hidden complexities. In our academic novel, we know that in the For Whom the Bell Tolls, we studied that novel, and we know that how the the Ernest Hemingway, writing style and his all the styles. So about the Ernest Hemingway, he was born on July 21st, 1899 in Cicero, US. He died on July 2nd in 1961, Ketchum, Idaho. His occupation is the basically novelist, short story writer, and journalist. He won award of a Nobel Prize for Literature. His notable work is the Old Man and the Sea. Academic work of our syllabus is the For Whom the Bell Tolls. So I'm going to deal in iceberg theory. So basically, iceberg theory, known as the ice of omission, also. So according to the article, Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory is his strategy of fiction writing in which most of the story is hidden, much like the iceberg underneath the ocean. So as we know that how iceberg looks in the sea. So upper part we can see in the surface, but under the sea we can't see capable to see that that part of iceberg. So Ernest Hemingway also wants to say that the work, the feelings behind the author's work, we can't captivate whole things while reading. So he also found that the largest percentage of an iceberg underwater not visible, as I mentioned, and is subsequently the strongest part of the iceberg. So that's the motive of the writer, that he wants to explain something, and we think that it's like that, it's like that. And in we can see that in that chart also that the language and the disease we can see easily, and is in the all works of all the writers. But what's the motive, what's the feelings behind that work, we are not captivate as it is. So in the same way, the strongest part of Hemingway story, what is the hidden from the reader. As I mentioned earlier, and the applicable and revealed it later also. So we, according to this article of Emery, the concept of the iceberg theory, Poe unofficially founded earlier than Hemingway. So in the work of the Caste of Emerson, Poe used that the theory in his work, and we found in that to analyze that work. The unity of effect influenced the Hemingway's work, Cat in the Rain. So we when we analyze the works of the Poe, we also found the interconnection between Poe and the Hemingway. So in the unity of effect, we that theory affected by or influenced by the Hemingway, or and the unofficially found this theory earlier than Hemingway. So we found that interconnection with the Poe and Hemingway. So literary work should contribute the overall emotional or aesthetic impact intention by the author. So in this theory, Hemingway wants to captivate the author or the writer should be captivate the main feelings in writing. So the Hemingway's motive to say that he should present his whole feelings, the whole feelings also, that he should written in the work also. So in this images, we can found that the iceberg of the upper part, we can see that we can found that success is an iceberg. What people see is the upper part. In the second image, we saw the knowledge and skills. So in the deep, we saw this failure, sacrifice, late night struggles, disappointment, discipline, hard work, dedication. So in the another image, the ability, personality, motive, and the life goals also. So the theory of iceberg is very common in our day-to-day life also. So the Ernest Hemingway wants to suggest this in the personal life, in the regular day-to-day life, and its artistic words and literature also. So in the conclusion, so in the both Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory and Edgar Allan Poe's concept of unity of an effect underscore the importance of strategic omission and cohesive storytelling in literature by the hiding the bulk of narrative beneath the surface, and or ensuring every element of contributes to the intended emotional impact. These theories challenging readers to engage actively with the text and appreciate the power of subtitling in storytelling. So these are my work citations. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Here, my question is for you. Could you provide some examples from Hemingway's work that follow the iceberg theory?
So yes, it's the work of Ernest Hemingway, very famous in the literature. The Old Man in the Sea and the Hills Like a White Elephant. So the both works are very famous, and the concept of the both work are inspired by this theory.
So here my question is for you. Could you please provide further explanation with an example?
Yes, in this as you noticed or not that in this this image the so in this image the explanation of this image can exemplify the whole concept of the iceberg theory, that what people see is that success and the hard work and that failures, starbacks, doubts, hard work, sacrifices, late night works, dreams, as we also do in our daily day-to-day life also. So it as like that we can. So thank you all of you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today my topic is narrative technique in For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is my personal information, table of content. About author Ernest Hemingway, American novelist and short story writer. He was born July 21, 1899, Cicero in US. He was died July 2, 1961, Getcom, Idaho. He was a Nobel Prize for Literature award in 1954. He was a writing style, intense muscularity, succinct and lucid prose, influence. Powerful impact of American and British fiction in 20th century. Notable works. The Torrents of Spring, The Sun Also Rises, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and The Old Man and the Sea. Introduction of For Whom the Bell Tolls. For Whom the Bell Tolls novel by Ernest Hemingway, published in 1940. Setting near Segovia, Spain, 1937. Character Robert Jordan, Maria, Pablo, and Pilar. Mission: blow up the bridge to aid loyalist offensive within 72 hours. Key event: Robert Jordan falls in love with Maria. He befriends Pablo and Pilar. He successfully destroyed the bridge. Pablo and Pilar, Maria, two others escape. Robert Jordan is injured and faces death by fascists. Narrative perspective, third person limited. The story narrated from third person perspective, but the narration is limited to the thought, feeling, and perception of the protagonist, Robert Jordan. The narrator cannot access the mind of other character. This technique connects reader to Jordan, provide the intimate window into Jordan's innermost thought, motivation, and emotional struggle. Create a strong emotional bond between reader and protagonist. Enhance the overall emotional impact and resonance the novel's event. Choice of third person narration. The first person narrative technique used in earlier novels like Sun Also Rise conveyed a sense of singularity and emotional isolation that fit those novel themes well. However, for Whom the Bell Tolls, with its theme of human interconnectedness embodies in the epigraph No Man in Iceland, the first person method would have been a handicap. The third person allowed Hemingway to freely move between the viewpoint of multiple characters like Jordan, Robert Jordan, Anselmo, Maria, and even enemy fascists. Use of interior monologue. When depicting the subjective mental and emotional experience for Whom the Bell Tolls, character Hemingway make frequent use of inner monologue. This is particularly true for internally reflective protagonist Robert Jordan. The inner monologue technique conveys character inner state vividly while perceiving realism and immediacy. For a redirecting character inner thoughts and emotion, Hemingway frequently employs in the inner monologue technique achieve immediacy without violating realism, balancing objective and subjective emphasis. Compared to intensely objective grounding, the sun also rises from for whom the bell tolls has more emphasis on subjective experience through inner monologue. However, it remains the anchor, the concrete actional detail, avoiding the drifting into pure subjectivism. The balance allows for immersive, realistic description while also conveying character psychology through slightly less gritty than his earlier work, for whom the bell tolls maintain a strong overall sense of realism. Non-linear chronology and flashback. Hemingway employs non-linear narrative technique, and for whom the bell tolls, the narrative fluidly moves between past, present, and future events. Flashback provide crucial backstory and context about Robert Jordan's experience and history. Memories offer revelatory glimpses into Jordan's psyche and philosophy, foreshadowing his upcoming tragedy and creating a sense of fatalism and the narrative mirror complexity of human memory and consciousness. Symbolism and metaphor in the narrative. The well. The well is itself a central symbol in the novel, represent different things and different characters. For Pablo, symbolize danger and death, while for the other represent call to action against thesis. The bridge serves as a central symbol representing the connection between character past and present, as well larger theme loyalty, sacrifice, and struggle for freedom. Animals like the Russian wolf hounds symbolize the natural world existing parallel to but untouched by the man-made violence of war. The metaphor of earth and soil used repeatedly symbolizing the simple, decent value Robert Jordan identified with the wishes to protect. Conclusion. Hemingway mastered full use of narrative techniques for whom the bell tolled. He will let the novel storytelling and enhance the emotional resonance from the intimate third person perspective and to the symbolic imagery and non-linear structure. These techniques work together to create powerful immersive reading experience that leaves a lasting impact on the reader. This is my resource. Now I'm ready for question.
So, Jay, my question is for you that what impact does the non-linear structure of the narrative have on the reader's experience?
In the for whom the bell tolls, the non-linear structure compared to Robert Jordan complexity and inner thought and so this non-linear structure narrative reader experience through and it allows the other character second.
Vijay, my question is, can you discuss an instance of symbolism or metaphor employed by the author through the narrative technique?
Yes, Hemingway some symbolism and metaphor used in from whom the bell tolls, like bridge, bell, a metaphor like soil and earth. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, KHACHAR. Today, I am going to give my presentation on For Warm the Bell Tolls, a journey through Hemingway's masterpiece. This is my personal information. This is the table of contents. Introduction. For Warm the Bell Tolls is written by Ernest Hemingway. It's a powerful exploration of human experience in the midst of the war, set during the Spanish Civil War. The novel follows American dynamiter Robert Jordan as he navigates the rugged Spanish mountains on a mission to destroy a crucial bridge, where he meets the group of guerrillas. Amidst the chaos of the battle, Jordan grapples with his own internal conflicts and forms relationships with his comrades, particularly Maria, a young woman whose life has been shattered by the war. So here is the origins of the novel, that why he wrote the novel. So the first is that Ernest Hemingway was a news reporter during the Spanish Civil War, and he was there to cover the news about the war. So Hemingway's the novel has some of the Hemingway's personal experience. Then another is John Donne's poem For Warm the Bell Tolls. The title is related to that. The title of Hemingway's novel is a direct reference to a line from Donne's poem, No Man is an Iceland. Hemingway borrowed this line to convey the theme of interconnectedness and the universal impact of death and suffering. The motivation behind For Warm the Bell Tolls, as I said, that Ernest Hemingway, this novel is on Ernest Hemingway's personal experience. The novel was inspired by Hemingway's time as a war correspondent in Spain, where he witnessed first-hand and brutality of chaos and conflict. Through his characters and narrative, Hemingway sought to convey the universal truths of war, urging readers to confront the consequences of violence and the quest for justice. So the setting and the narrative technique of the novel. For Warm the Bell Tolls is set during the Spanish Civil War in the late 1930s. Here you can see the picture. This is the picture of the real Spanish Civil War. The Madrid place, we also know that place is also mentioned in the novel. So that is a real place also. Then Ernest Hemingway employed the third-person limited omniscient narrative technique, focusing primarily on Robert Jordan's perspective, while occasionally delving into the thoughts and emotion of other characters. So here are some main characters of the novel. Yes, you can say Robert Jordan, an American soldier. Then Maria, Pablo, who is the leader of guerrillas, Pilar, his wife, and Anselmo, who leads Robert Jordan. Then El Sordo, who is also a leader of guerrilla band, and Rafael. Summary of the novel. So the novel setting is in Spain during the Spanish Civil War, as I said, and the Robert Jordan is the protagonist of the novel, who is fighting with the Republicans. And he was assigned a mission of blowing up a bridge behind the enemy's lines. The theme of the novel is that loyalty, that how Robert Jordan was loyal to his duties and love, that he and Maria both fell in love with each other, then sacrificed that so many characters in the novel sacrificed their life for the war. Then relationships, as I said, the Jordan forms relationships with guerrilla fighters and falls in love with Maria. And there is a conflict that internal and external struggles as Jordan confronts moral dilemmas and the reality of war. And the conclusion of the novel was that poignant ending underscores the human cost of war and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Themes and the symbols in the novel. So the themes are war and conflict, and as we know that the novel, we can say that this is the main theme of the novel. Then sacrifice and duty, that they sacrifice their life and their love for the duty, then love and relationship that they make a relationship with each other, then individual versus collective identity, mortality and fatalism, nature and landscape, heroism and honor. Then these are the symbols: the bridge, the bell, the pine forest, and the horse, the mountains, and the anvil and the hammer. So, as we know that the novel's background is the Spanish Civil War. So here is the timeline of the Spanish Civil War. The starting point of the war was 1931, when the King Alfonso VII was abdicated, and the Franco was dead. Then 1936, then finally the war begins. And 1939, the war ends. The victory of Francisco Franco's nationalist forces. Then this is about Spanish War, the historical background, that how it happened. So deep-seated political, social, and economic tensions within a Spanish society. The cause of the war is that ideological divisions between left-wing Republicans and the right-wing nationalists led by General Francisco Franco. Then international involvement that Republicans supported by Soviet Union and international volunteers, nationalists backed by fascist Italy and Nazi and Germany. Then legacy of that contentious topic in Spanish society, shaping politics and society even after Franco's death. Here you can see some picture of the Spanish Civil War. The third one is the Franco himself. Then a parallel between novel and the Spanish War. The participation in the conflict. In the novel, the protagonist Robert Jordan is an American dynamiter who joins the Republican guerrilla fighters in the Spanish mountain to blow up a bridge. And in real life, in the war, so many international volunteers volunteer themselves and join the Republican side to fight against the nationalist forces led by Franco. Then guerrilla warfare. In the novel, Robert Jordan and his comrade engage in guerrilla warfare tactics, including ambushes, sub-attack, and hit-and-run attacks. In the war, guerrilla warfare was a significant aspect of the conflict, with Republican guerrilla bands operating in the rugged terrain of Spain, targeting nationalist supply lines and communication networks. Then idealism and commitment. In the novel, Robert Jordan is deeply committed to the Republican cause and believes in the ideals of freedom and justice for which he fights. And also in the war, that many volunteers who volunteered themselves, they also were committed to their duty. Then, as I mentioned that about the international involvement. The character of Anselmo, a Spanish guerrilla leader, emphasized the importance of international solidarity among anti-fascist fighters. Then here is that Robert Merriman, the real-life inspiration for Hemingway's Robert Jordan. So he was there in Spanish Civil War. Robert Merriman was a real-life American volunteer in the Spanish Civil War who served as a model for Ernest Hemingway's character Robert Jordan in the novel. For whom the battles, Merriman's bravery and leadership, particularly in the assault of Belchite, impressed Hemingway. While Merriman's experience inspired the creation of Jordan, Hemingway significantly transferred the character, changing the setting from large military campaign to an isolated guerrilla mission. So, background of the Merrimans, Merriman Jordan is also from America, and he was also intellectual and academic. Then both Merriman had a quite reserved demeanor and belied their courage and leadership abilities. Then military roles, Merriman was a high-ranking staff officer in the international brigades, while Jordan is assigned to a crucial mission behind enemy lines as a guerrilla saboteur. Then a fate, as Merriman's ultimate fate of being captured and likely executed by nationalist forces parallel the implied death of Jordan at the end of the novel. Both men's death occurs off stage, with the reader left to infer the outcome rather than witnessing it directly. Then symbolic significance. Merrymen represent the real life experience and the sacrifices of American volunteers in Spain, which Hemingway sought to capture and memorialize through the character of Jordan. Then our Indian soldiers were also participated in the World War One. So here is one of them, Subedar Major Mir Das, in the context of Robert Jordan. So he was a Pakistani. That time we haven't parted in it. So his military service was Subedar Major Mir Das, served in the British Indian Army during World War One, and he also got the Victoria Cross. He in 1915 for his act of bravery. Then symbol of valor, his receipt of the Victoria Cross symbolizes his extraordinary courage and dedication to duty. As you can see the picture of him and the Victoria Cross medal he got. Then his legacy, that Mirdas' bravery serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by Indian soldiers during the war, inspiring admiration and respect. Subedar Major Mirdas and Robert Jordan, through engaged in different conflicts, embody courage and selflessness in their action. Major Mirdas also lost his life during the volunteering in the World War One. Conclusion. In conclusion, for whom the Beltons remain a timeless exploration of the human condition amidst the turmoil of war, Hemingway's motivation behind the novel, rooted in his experiences during the Spanish Civil War, underscores its enduring relevance. Through its vivid setting, memorable characters, and exploration of universal themes, the novel continues to captivate readers by examining the parallels between the fictional narrative and the historical events, as well as the real-life inspiration behind its character. We gain a deeper insight into Hemingway's vision. So here is the quote: "The world is a fine place, and worth the fighting for, and I hate very much to leave it." As we know that the last monologue of Robert Jordan, where he says, "This is my references," and thank you. Now, if anyone have a question, so you may ask.
Jayshree, my question is, how do the guerrilla warfare tactics in for whom the bell tolls compared to those used by Republican fighters in the Spanish Civil War?
So, as I said that in Spanish Civil War, there were also guerrillas in real life. They were used to use tactics like hit and run, then sabotaging the enemies. As same we see in the novel that Robert Jordan is assigned to blow up a bridge. So that way they uses the tactics. Anyone else?
So, Jayashree, my question is for you that how does Hemingway's use of turns line in the title reflect the theme of interconnectedness and the impact of death and suffering in the novel?
So, as I said that the title of the novel is inspired by the John Donne's poem. So, in that poem, he says about how people are connected. As in the novel, that Robert Jordan, who is the American who comes in Spain for assigned for a task, where he meets the group of gorillas, and he makes relationships with them. When some of them dies, we can see that effect on everyone, that how they acts after someone of their group dies. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. Today, hello everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. The presentation topic of the tragic heroine, or deeper look at the Mary Tyrone in the long day journey into midnight. It's my educational information. Table of content. Let's start presentation with about the playwright. The full name, Eugene Gladstone O'Neill, born 1888, New York, USA. Died in 2017. In 1953, Boston. In that time, his age was 16. He was an American playwright. His poetically titled plays were among the first to introduce into the US. The drama technically of realism earlier associated with Russian playwright Anton Chekhov. The tragedy Long Day Journey into Night is often included on the list of the finest US play in the 20th century. Award and honor, Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize, 1936. Notable work, A Moon for Mr. Burton, A. Wilson, Wilderness, and Anna Christine, Beyond the Horizon, and a long day journey into midnight. A brief about the play Long Day Journey into the Midnight. First of the title of the novel, the title of the play Long Day Journey into Midnight means a long day journey. In the long day journey is like become is like a beginning and a life, and in the midnight is like a death. Okay, our life is like a one type of journey, and that end with death. The Long Day Journey into Night play is in the 4 act by Eugene and written in 1939 and published in 1956. The play is considered an American masterpiece. Was awarded Pulitzer Prize in 1957. Eugene's autobiographical play is a shattered death of the day in the dearly life couple and their 2 sons. James Tyrone, a similary actor, a Wayne, a sense of this and misery. His wife Mary, feel worthless and retreat in the morphine include health. Jamie and their older son is a bitter alcoholic. James refuses to acknowledge the illness of his consecutive younger son, Edmund. As Mary seeks into the hallucination and the madness, father and son conflict each other in the searching scenes that reveal their hidden motive and the intercepted. Mary Tyrone, the tragic heroine. The title of the presentation, a heroine who suffered from a tragic flaw that eventually caused a downfall. It's like she was a female tragic hero. And my presentation, I will deal with some topic, how to become a tragic heroine in the play. Background and content, Mary's addiction and illusion, impact and patriarchal society, the symbol of Mary and Mary's relationship with her family. Background and content. Mary Tyrone, born in Catherine Bannon, was raised a contemplative Catholic family with a modest upbringing. Her early passion for music and particularly piano hinted at a potential for artist expression. However, upon marrying, James Tyrone, and rebel actor, Mary's life became intertwined with financial stability, but also transcending for James' futility and career ambitions. Her background and set the stage for the complexity and struggle that defined Mary's character in Long Day Journey into Night. Mary's addiction and illusion. Mary, whenever she married with Tyrone, and that situation start with she was born one of baby, and that doctor suggests take morphine, and after she was is like her habit, and that addiction is very dangerous in the world. Then addition of drugs, alcohol and morphine function as drugs often due to in literature as a symbol of retreat. Basically, no one in family has any way to could go literally or metaphorically. So they have two options: fight or fleeted. They fight often, especially a man. It's like a father and son and brother and brother. We talk about Mary's particularly dependence on morphine in her character analysis. So let's get specific with what Tyrone men are. Additional seem to arise only infections of morphine uses who take the drug for a psychological effect, such as its ability to produce euphoria and relieve to tension. Only those who crave the drug's mood utterly affect the fire, even increase dose for relief that Mary is patterned to the play. Impact of the patriarchal society. What role in the novel Mary's as a tragic heroine become that patriarchal society is the most important role, because she was woman in the whole play is and three male characters, but sometimes it's like she was not able to deal with her husband and her sons. In long day journey into the night, explore Mary's tragic life and the family emotional response, highlighting the oppressive nature of patriarchal society. In the root of Mary, misfortune, relieving ugly reality of capitalistic society and his own sense of despair. Explore the various problems in society that she was like three type of role. It's like she was a mother, she was like a wife, and she was like a daughter. Her role as a daughter, wife, and mother, challenging faced by women in the society. First, Mary as a daughter. Teenage Mary grew up with family with a strong sense of identity and receive a good education, leading a carefree life and filled with happiness. With her pianist belief and God, and her aspiration were to become a nun or pianist, supported by her agreeable father and family. Mary enjoyed a harmonious relationship with her classmate and embodying purity with livingness and health. First, Mary was like she was is like a daughter. That time she was like a free and enjoys like a butterfly, everything do. And after her marriage, she was like a cage bird, and she was free, but she was living so in her own cage and do everything but live in cage. And she Mary as a wife, Heroine Mary, one seeking emotional fulfillment in the both religious devotion and secular pursuit. Eventually, the societal pressure of marriage in a patriarchal society. Marriage is seen as providing warm home and supporting husband. Role explore of Mary, despite her inability to carefree life and doubt about marriage. She marries actor Tyrone in pursuit of better life. Means she is like a thought of Mary. Mary is like I will marriage and I will become a safe life and pursue everything is by her husband. But that's nothing to like in a patriarchal society of impact that she was delusionment and deeper face loneliness and disappointment after her marriage. Mary as a mother. Mary's role as a mother shattered by patriarchal standard despite pursuing love in her sons. They exhibit concept, particularly her eldest who result feeling neglected. Her effort to be a nurturing mother failed, pursuing Mary to college succumbing to societal expectation. She finds in a morphine and reflect the plight of women in patriarchal society. Mary is like she was not a good mother because she is like her own intention and her own success is not become is good, and
after she is like her son is like doing is like seducing like some type of relation like and her father like jealousy and mother like jealousy. But in the patriarchal society, she was is like a mother role. She was not good, and people like think is about you are not a good mother, and other is the observation of Mary is she was not a good mother, not good wife, and not a good daughter. That responsibility about her is not everything is like up and down the situation in Mary's life. Symbol for Mary: wedding dress, fog, and piano. Wedding dress are wedding dress symbolize Mary's passion and is a desire, because she was married to Tyrone. She was become her life is luxurious and become as hopefully, and she lives the kind fog. Fog symbolize is like Mary's a climb is she was in the novel that whenever folk come that time Mary adds more scene. And piano is the hope and desire. Mary also become is like a dream is a pianist and nun, but she will marry to Tyrone, but their desire and dream was also broken. Mary's relationship with her family. Her relation with each member in Mary Tyrone. She was old, is 54-year-old, has Mr. Tyrone, with the husband and wife, Edmund Tyrone. Mary's relation with the son and mother, and James Tyrone has also mother and son's relation. In conclusion, Mary, a tragic image of woman who shaped in the drama as well as play, one day journey into night. The discrimination against women in patriarchal society can be said to be a root to heroine Mary's life tragedy. Mary's life is affected by the control and influence of a patriarchal society and had a tragic color. After getting married, Mary's life tragedy is richer. Mary's life is to be fight to be unequal relationship between men and women, eager to live a happy life, but the death to patriarchal society thought her soul disdain is a failure of Mary's residence. Is my references. And thank you. Now, if you have any questions.
So, Kavita, my question is, if Mary could change her story, what dream would she reclaim, and how might this reshape her journey, marriage, and society?
If Mary could change her story, so she was first of she reclaimed her dream as like a pianist and nun. She was also big with a dream as like a nun and a pianist. So she start his journey is like not first of Mary with time. She was focused on his dream to how to fulfill my dream, and after she will get married and her struggle, and she was become an independent woman.
So, Kavita, as you talk about Mary's role in the novel, so can you tell me that how does Mary's character contribute to the overall thematic exploration of the human condition in a long day's journey into night?
Yes. Mary's character contribute overall thematic exploration of a human condition is depends on the is like how to live is like a human, and that's also considered is people is like challenging many circumstances, and we are also connected is like novel is like do like something with Mary, and we are feel like
That's the thing will also become with me and connected with, we are also connected our thoughts with Mary's thoughts and also woman condition in the play Long Day Journey. So thank you everyone. Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kusum Sarvaya, and on the third day of presentation, I am going to make a presentation on unraveling Hemingway's narrative silence, the theory of omission. This is my personal information and the things which we are going to discuss in the presentation. And let's start with the introduction. So Hemingway's omission theory, also known as the iceberg theory, and the theory of omission, both the name beside, is a literary technique characterized by the deliberate exclusion of details detailed in a narrative. Hemingway's omission theory is often associated with his use of short, simple sentences, sparse description, and dialogues derived from narrative, all of which contribute to the overall impact of his storytelling. And the thought is also saying the same thing, that his writing always is the kind of a 1 to 2%, and the 10 and 7 to 8 thing, 8% is underneath. Hemingway's life, his personal life was quite unpleasant. We can say that he was, his life is like he have a literary success as well, and he's quite unpleasant as well. He marries 4 times, and have a complex relationship with his friends and family. He was an American novelist known for his simple yet powerful style. His notable works like The Sun Also Rises, Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and also The Old Man and the Sea. And this both, all the words, so maybe we can say this, that all the examples of theory of omission. Hemingway's adventurous life and experience in his writing, which often explored theme of masculinity, courage, and human condition. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in the year of 1954. And the background of theory, as we know, as we are dealing with the surface thing and the underneath thing, so how can we explore the background? So the background of Hemingway, of theory, that Hemingway was a journalist after becoming the writer. So when he was the cub reporter, so he saw the reality of any of the society by a very focused lens. So he know that what is reality and what is beneath the thing. So, and many times he also faces the thing that reality is hidden by someone. So he quickly knows that the truth often lurks below the surface of real story. And he also introduced about corruption in city police. Also, the theory can be outcome of explored to modernist literary movement of the early 20th century. So we can say the time of interpretation of time in the theory. So let's come to the main thing, the underlying of the theory. Hemingway believed that writers only present the tip of the iceberg. So we can say by this in this photo, that the iceberg only 10% is visible, and the 90% it is there, but it is not visible. So the same thing we can see in the any writing as well, that whatever the text we have, it is only the 10%, and the 90%, the real, the beneath thing, which is not visible. A person's thought and feelings are presented by only a small portion of what is visible on the surface. So is the core meaning that thoughts and feelings are not visible by thing. For example, if I'm saying, if I'm normally I'm communicate with my friend that I just have completed the task of making PPT. So I say this say her that I just have completed the work. So she know that yes, I have completed the work. That she don't know that what are the difficulties and what are the what are the materials that I have used. But this is only I know. So this thing is underneath, and only the 10% that I have, yes, I have completed the work. This is she can see the 10% only the thing. And same thing we can apply in the work as well, that whatever the text we have, whatever the writer have write, it is only minor thing, or we can say the surface meaning of the thing. As we also know that that we have this movie that Wordsworth and Coleridge, he have write the work the ancient mariner. So we have see the work, we have read the work, and we know that this work is like his masterpiece. But we don't know that what were the mental condition of Coleridge when he was writing that. He was almost mad, right? So we don't know his personal struggle when he was writing the thing. So it is underneath. It is like underneath this part. This like this underneath part of writing. Iceberg theory centers on the idea that there is always more to a story than what the reader or viewers see. Omission means something neglect or left undone. So the two name iceberg theory and omission both define here that omission means which is the undone, or which is left undone. I mean there is, but not on the surface level. And the iceberg is because this iceberg is because this, and is this the model of iceberg. We can also apply this model in many things, like Sigmund Freud's subconscious and conscious level. The 10% it is the conscious mind, and the 90% of other it is unconscious mind. And the other model is like in we can use in a success story, that anyone if I have a successful in his life, in their life, so we will congratulate them for their success. But we don't know his success story, how he success, and what are his difficulties during the journey. His one of famous work is Old Man and the Sea, and this is novella. We can say that is the major example of his writing of theory of omission. The novella tells the story of an aging fisherman named Santiago who engages in an epic battle with a giant fish marlin. Despite his physical struggle and isolation and at sea, Santiago displays resilience, courage, and determination in his pursuit. Hemingway wants us to know that although Santiago is the poor fisherman, he loves baseball. See this thing that he was a poor fisherman, he loves baseball and have an American dream. It is not mentioned in a novel, but thoughts of Santiago and his one of his soliloquy, we comes to know that yes, he like for baseball, and he resilience and reminiscing, and he also have a American dream. So this thing we can say is that that is why this work is a major example of theory of omission. The reminiscing of when he was young. This deeper means the hidden part of iceberg. These are some original quotes from the novella. The old man was thin and gowned with deep wrinkles in the back of his neck. The brown blotches of the benevolent skin cancer the sun brings from a reflection of the tropic sea were on his cheeks. So this is only a quote, right? But the underneath thing is that this words after reading we comes to know that how he familiar with the voyages and how familiar he is with the sun, with the sea. And the same thing we can say in many Gujarati poems. We see that Paghdi, the turbak, that when the writer mention any kind of particular word for the Paghdi, so we comes to know that physical the location that where it must be the character come from, and how the brave, or he was a king, or he was a soldier, whatever he is. So the same thing we can see here. By only 1 to 2 words, use of only 1 to 2 years, he says many things. The 1,000th time that he had proved it meant nothing. Now he was proving it again. Each time was a new time, and he never thought about the past when he was going in. This thing focused that how determined the Santiago is about his present, and how he is not affected by his past failures. But man is not not made for defeat. This is the core meaning, or we can very well-known quote of the novella, that man can be destroyed but not defeated. The use of a simple economical language with full of symbols, metaphors, similes, allusions, personification, interior monologue, repetition, and soliloquy, especially soliloquy. These all are the things which fits this novella in a mode of omission theory. All these devices provide another cognitive approach to this story. Let me conclude the presentation here. Hemingway's spare dialogue, minimal description, and implication of meaning in the novella exemplifies mastery of this technique. This theory plays a crucial role in Hemingway's other works. The theory highlights how this principle applies not only to writing but also to various aspects of life, encouraging all to embrace simplicity and the art of leaving things unsaid for greater impact and resonance. And for further reading, you can visit these sources. And thank you. We can discuss the questions now.
So Kusum, as you talk about Hemingway's omniscient theory in the for characters, so can you tell me that how does Hemingway's omniscient theory redefine the role of the reader in interpreting literature?
Thank you, Jayshri, because I have forgot this thing to mention in my presentation, that this omission theory is kind of two-way communication. We can say that it is not like writer only write the works, write the text, and okay, the task is finished. It is like two-way communication, because whenever a reader read something, he must be active mind and the creative mind as well, that he have to think about that what could be the beneath and what could be the another meaning of the text. So in a one line, I can say this, that the reader have played a crucial role while we gone through the lens of the omission theory. Thank you. Next question, please.
So, Kusum, my question is, what is the signification of Hemingway's omniscient theory in modern literature?
Okay, in modern literature, so as we know that in nowadays we don't like this this straightforward kind of text and works. So this omission theory maybe maybe help writers to write many like different and from other different thing from the normal thing. And this modern literature, it promotes the kind of creative writing, and also it will open the door of creative thinking as well. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Maya Bhatia. Today's my topic of language, magic and reality in For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is my personal information about author. Full name Ernest Miller Hemingway, born in 21st July 1899. He was died 2nd July 1961. Ernest Hemingway, an American novelist and short story writer. He was won awards Nobel Prize in 1954 and Pulitzer Prize in 1953. He was education of Oak Park High School. His notable works, A Clean Well Lighted Place and Farewell to Arms, it was famous and well-known play in English literature. Next, Death in the Afternoon, and For Whom the Bell Tolls, and last in our time, about For Whom the Bell Tolls. For Whom the Bell Tolls novel by Ernest Hemingway, published in 1914. The novel is set near Segovia, Spain in 1937 and tells the story of American teacher Robert Jordan, who has joined the anti-fascist Royalist Army. The action takes place during Jordan's 72 hours at the guerrillas camp. Language, magic, and reality in For Whom the Bell Tolls. In the opening page of For Whom the Bell Tolls, Robert Jordan begins his assignment pondering the example of Kashkin, his predecessor in the party's work with Pablo's guerrillas band. Trying to determine what had been Kashkin's flaw, he recognized that his had been primarily a matter of language. Kashkin had talked too much of death as suicide. You can't have people around you during this sort of work and talking that death. Conclude. That is no way to talk, even if they accomplish their mission. They are doing more harm than good, talking that kind of stuff. For Hemingway and his character must be seen as they are concerned, even observed, with language magic, with the tendency of presume, necessary connections between words and think or action, and to assume control over events and feelings by the power of words. Whether his tendency is to be interpreted as a psychological aberration or more probably as a cultural pattern viewed anthropologically, it is central to the way in which Hemingway's words can be comprehended. There's such as emphasis on the reality of words operates in For Whom the Bell Tolls seems entirely contradictory to Hemingway's practice. The well-known passages in A Farewell to Arms on the obscenity of abstract words and the validity of only name of concept, place, and things would seem. As R.P. Warren has suggested, to link Hemingway with users of excessively empirically language. Words, according to this theory, have reference only to evidently no sensations. Conclusion. For Whom the Bell Tolls is a powerful exploration of war, love, and the human spirit. Hemingway's vivid prose and deep understanding of the human condition bring the Spanish Civil War to life, while his character struggles and sacrifice resonate with universal themes. This is my references. If you question.
My question is, does Hemingway incorporate element of Spanish culture and language in the narrative?
Yes. Hemingway incorporates elements of Spanish culture and language into the narrative using Spanish Pharisees, culture, references, and description of Spanish countryside to depth and comprehension in the story. Next.
Maya, can you give exact example of magic and sterilization can be found in the narrative of For Whom the Bell Tolls?
Example of magic and surrealism, the narrative of For Whom the Bell Tolls. Dreams and superstitions and the deaf and their comprehension in For Whom the Bell Tolls. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is CHAVDA and today's my topic name is Stopping by Boats on Snowy Evening and Blowin in the Wind. This is my personal information. First starting with the Robert Frost. Robert Frost, full name Lee Frost, was an American poet. Frost is widely regarded as one of the most influential poet of the 20th century. Robert Frost was known for his depictions of rural New England life, his graphs of colonial speech, and his poetry about ordinary people in everyday situations. Frost received numerous awards and honors, including in 4 Pulitzer Prizes. These awards recognize Frost's significant contributions to American literature, particularly his mastery of poetic form and his explorations of themes related to rural life, nature, and human existence. These are the major poems: Nothing Gold Can Stay, The Road Not Taken, etc. This is quote from the line. This is the last lines of the poem, Stopping by Boats on a Snowy Evening. Also, these lines put our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal, Indian's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru put in the desk. His now Bob Dylan. In original name is Robert Allen Zimmerman. Bob Dylan born in May 24, 1941, and he was an American folk singer. Was moved from folk to rock music in the 1916, infusing the lyrics of rock and roll. Hailed as the Shakespeare of his generation, Dylan sold tens of millions albums, wrote more than 500 songs, recorded by more than 200 artists, performed all over the world, and set the standard for lyric writing. In the early 1960s, he performed professionally in Greenwich Village Coffee House and released an album that made him the darling of critics and folk music devotees. Blowin in the Wind and the Times They Array Changing become anthems of civil rights movements. Among the most praised of his many later albums are Blood on the Tracks, Time Out of Mind, and The Love Trapped. He is perhaps the most admired and influential American songwriter of his time. And he get the Nobel Prize in Literature 2016, was awarded to Bob Dylan for having created new poetic expressions with the great American song traditions. This quote from song Blow in the Wind by Bob Dylan. First line, this is the This is the poem. In the stopping by woods on a snowy evening, I first suggest he wrote Robert Frost, and in the most story in one person who stand there, one place which is stopping by woods on snowy evening, and that place very peaceful, and so he want to stay there, but his some works are important more than their stay there. So, and the second song by Bob Dylan, Blowin in the Wind, he wrote in 1962. Here the comparison of the poem and song. First, poet stopping by woods on a snowy evening, poet Robert Frost, the rhyming scheme AABA, and the Blowing in the Wind song, writer by Bob Dylan, and the rhyming scheme AABB. And here themes of a song, of a poem, nature, responsibilities, and death, solitude. And the song in war, freedom, and equality. And here tone, contemplative, and here the protest and urgent. The symbols of in the poem, woods, hours, snowy, evening, and sleep. And here the symbol of mountain, wind, and road with the long name. Here the poem's imagery, darkness, and here imaginary, cannonball, sky, and the road. Frost described it as the short poem with the long name, and here the song in the ambiguous replay suggests the complexity of the question itself. Conclusion. In a summary, stopping by woods on a snowy evening, explore the individual introspections, administer nature's allure, while Blowing in the Wind confronts societal injustice. Despite their differences, both works prompt reflections on the human condition and the quest for meaning in life. This is my work cited. Thank you. Now, anyone, if you have any questions, ask me.
Nanda, my question is, what is impact did these works have on the respective audience and society?
First, Frost poems impact in the poem in Frost poem is based on meditation, as a meditation, and life and death. And when Bob Dylan songs in civil war, civil rights movement, and societal changes, that impact of our audience and societies.
Nanda, how do the reference to cannonballs contribute to overall message of the book?
Cannonballs, it's saying like that, stopping war, and saying that also people's when war causes while many people such hurts and destructions to many things after, so stopping the fighting and keep new thinking. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am going to present For Whom the Bell Tolls, Ernest Hemingway, War and its impact on society in For Whom the Bell Tolls. Table of contents. Introduction about novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls, novel by Ernest Hemingway, published in 1914. The novel is set near Sevilla, Spain in 1937 and tells the story of American teacher Robert Jordan, who has joined the anti-fascist loyalist army. The title is derived from Meditation 17 of John Donne's Devotions upon immigrant occasions. No man is an island, Donne observed, entire to its life. Every man is a piece to the content, a part of the main, and any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never sent to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. For Whom the Bell Tolls, we as the analysis of the main character and as characters of novel against the background of the Spanish Civil War. Ernest Hemingway know first and what war is the what is it. He was a participant in the First World War. The Republican, of course, were not ready for it, and therefore within a few days, entire regions were in the hand of the rebels, and after some time, the sieges of Madrid and Barcelona begins. Despite the events taking place, the West clearly expressed its positions of non-interference in the internal political affairs of Spain, which in fact aiding the Francoists. Their sides was openly supported by the leading Europe countries with fascist dictatorships, Italian and Germany. Germans bombers dropped their bombs on Spanish cities, which after the bombing were striven with the corpses of civilians on the territory of Spain, where there was a bloody civil war. The prologue of the Second World War was played out. Laws of innocence in Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls, in the brutality of the Spanish Civil War, strips away innocence from various characters. The protagonist, Robert Jordan, arrives the idealistic but is a force to control the war harsh reality. Maria is a love interest, physical and emotional trauma after being brutalized by soldier. Even young characters like Andres and Jacqueline lose their childhood innocence due to exposure to violence and death. The war dismantles their sense of security and forever alters their worldview. Robert Jordan, in For Whom the Bell Tolls, embodies the laws of innocence. He arrives in Spain with idealistic belief about the Republican cause. Other characters also experience disillusionment. Maria innocence is a violence stripped away when she is assaulted by soldier. Psychological trauma. Hemingway, with analysis of three of his most beloved novels, Farewell to Arm, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and The Garden of Eden, published in 1986. All of these novels portray women who have experienced a form of trauma, often violence. Hemingway portrayed to Jordan reveals that he poses normative ideas about femininity. However, this view is overturned when he learned of the trauma that Maria has experienced. Maria and Robert Jordan enter into sexual relationship. Both desire the other, which helps them to overcome the present day trauma they have experienced. Maria speaks of her trauma loudly as well as with distant realism, making it clear that she was lucky to lose only her and not her life. This is a come in trauma victims. Such dissociate as a real defense mechanisms response to crisis. Coupled with the rap, we later learned that Maria has experienced. Hemingway has a clear placed Maria into category of traumatized, damaged goods. Maria's states of damage and traumatized progress. The novel as her relationship with Robert Jordan depends help them to overcome the present day trauma they have experienced. Maria and Robert Jordan enter into sexual relationship. Both desire the other. Which woman's survival of the trauma? It is clear that Hemingway created resilient female characters that are not in conjunctions with some have attributed to him. Although each woman's trauma is unique, they all related to the theme of woman's power through survival and trauma. Maria is able to overcome the trauma of her through her relationship with Robert Jordan. Political ideology for whom the battles present the Spanish Civil War as a binary conflict, a struggle between fascism and socialism. This violent division of Spain is a useful example of political enterprise and its unfortunate consequences, especially considering the divided conditionality of American and European political today. Hemingway day contemporary politics, the search for unity is preferable to endorsing such divisions by advocating for one side. Hemingway had apparently come full circle from political certainty to political idealism and back against. The problem of political divergence is not remote issues of the past. Sacrifice and honor. In Ernest Hemingway, for whom the bell tolls, the ominous tolling of bell serves as a hunting reminder of morality, established a pervasive theme of sacrifice and honor and the devastating consequences of war. Jordan himself is injured but manages to escape and continue with the missions. The moment come to below the breach, Jordan's success but not without sacrifice. Through the experience of the character, Hemingway delves into the complexities of the sacrifice and honors, highlighting the profound impact they can have on individual and social during times of conflict and upheaval. There is no such things as a man who is pure of heart. Those who say they are hypocrites. For we all make sacrifice, big or small, for what we believe in. Legacy of War, for whom the battles, by Ernest Hemingway explored the legacy of war through its depictions of a Spanish Civil War. The novel delves into psychological and emotional tolls of conflicts or individual committees and social as a whole, highlighting theme sacrifice, honor, loyalty, and the futility of war, show causing how to it leaves lasting scars on those who experience it firsthand. Additionally, the novel explored the impact of war on relation, particularly the bond between protagonist Robert Jordan and his fellow guerrillas fighter, as well as his love affair with Maria, and a young woman whose life has been profoundly affected by the war. This is Ernest Hemingway quotes. One notable example is the character of Pablo, whose experience in the Spanish Civil War has left him deeply scared, in influencing his behavior and attitudes throughout the novel. The character grappled with the consequences of their actions and a psychological tool of combat and the lasting impact of violence and individuals and communities. The Spanish villagers' courts in the Crossfire have suffered immensely, and their lives and forever altered by the conflict. Hemingway also explored the disillusionment that war can bring. Initially, idealistic Jordan comfort the complexities of the Republican cause and the sacrifice demanded. The legacy of war as depicted in novel is one of loss, trauma, and staring of the innocence. Conclusion. The conclusion of On the Battles by Ernest Hemingway underscores the devastating impact of war on society through the experience of the character, especially Robert Jordan. The novel reveals a physical and psychological tool that war exact on individuals and communities. The destructions, loss, and trauma, despite in the novel, highlighting the futility and the senselessness of armed conflict. Ultimately, Hemingway conclusion serve as a poignant reminder of the profound and lasting effects of war on society, urging reader to contemplate the human cost of violence and the importance of striving for peace. This is my research. Thank you. Anyone have a question?
My question is what societal norms are disrupted by war in the story?
Social norms like family structure, economic stability, women take non-traditional rules, social hierarchies, and traditional norms and rules.
Mishra, my question is, how did the novel For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway portray the impact of war on individual characters?
Hemingway portrayed the impact of war on individual characters through their experience of fear and highlight the theme like loyalty and sacrifice.
So we had good presentations and good questions also in between, and few questions were answered properly. Some were still lacking the point, or things were not connected properly. So let us try to quickly overview the things with a feedback. Okay, so first few presentations we had on this Transcendentalism, American Transcendentalism, nature, and the thing, Ecocritical reading was there, Feminism and Transcendentalism, popular singer like Taylor Swift, and nature obsession, this were there. And some questions were also there which were very interesting to see. So in the first one, which was by AAKASH. So the connection that was presented with this Ladakh and the civil rights, climate justice, which is a good point to discuss, but is not well connected also, still in case of Robert Frost. So there is some problem there when we see Robert Frost as a white American. He himself is one of the encroachers of the forest. He himself is an encroacher of the forest, and in that way, that entire debate of transcendentalism needs to be located also. So when we see, or like in next semester, we will see this article where this point you remember how we see today transcendentalism, which is more of a traditional way of looking, and how now people have already questioned transcendentalism, like in terms of nature and other kinds of dynamics that is there. So in next semester, we will see this article wherein we will, this is about future of post-colonial studies. In post-colonial paper, we will see this. So then you can again connect and revisit these things. So here we will see that American environmentalism and its obsession with the wilderness. This point, how they try to see. So Rob Nixon about wilderness obsession is celebrated in American literature as well as in natural history, where there is a durable tradition of, and this is very important point, that when you are celebrating this wilderness, Emerson, Thoreau, Walt Whitman, and all this thing, now people say that there is an eraser of the history of colonized peoples through the myths of empty lands. So when Robert Frost encroaches the forest and makes a wall and expands his farmland, it seems like there was an empty land. There was nobody living there. It was nobody's land. So you can keep on expanding your walls, you can keep on encroaching, and you can have your forest as a fertile land. But it was not so. There were already people living there. There were Red Indians living there. There were tribal peoples, Adivasis were living there. So what was done to them? They were killed by the white people who came from Europe. That is very interestingly missing in the narration, which now people are visiting. So what is this eraser of the history of the colonized people through the myth of empty land? It was not an empty land. It is created there. So this prodigious amount of American environmental writing and criticism makes this expansive gesture about this amnesia towards non-American geographies that vanish over intellectual skyline. Amnesia, forgetfulness. So once things are not narrated, people become forgetful about what was there. Amnesia is what plays a vital role. So this point, which we will see in the next semester, so you can connect with that and see how we read these writers also. So that was one point which we need to see. To support this point of the eraser of so many Aboriginal Americans, now we have lots of literature. We have lots of writing and other thing. One very famous film which was in this last Oscar also, it was nominated for 10 awards, was this Killers of the Flower Moon. This film also, there are many such films. If you'll see, search by this 10 great films about indigenous American, and there, then we will find that the top right now is the Flower Moon, Killers of the Flower Moon. But then there are many other films also which speaks about these people. So now the narrative has changed, and Transcendentalism, which tries to glamorize the things, is now being seen in a different manner also. So these all films can tell the narrative also. So that is one point which we will discuss in the next semester. So many of these questions that were asked about this, how one can see the very transcendental movement in contemporary times or in modern time. Now how we can get ideas or how we look at that becomes important there. Then Akshay presented on this Margaret Fuller and other things.
But my presentation was on ecocritical meaning of Robert Frost. So where do we find transcendentalism?
No, it is generally overall. The others were transcendentalism, your was on eco-criticism.
So where exactly was I lacking in context?
In that, what you were lacking is that this point of these people, civil rights of the people who are going there. Now, how is that connected with this idea? Because that leads with the idea of human migration, and then the people who are doing that. You need to check that. I think net is disconnected in that. So lots of people who are migrating, that image that you have shown, that and why in Europe people don't want such people to come to their land, and then their boats are submerged and they are dying. So now, who are those people who don't want these outsiders now in their country? Those are those people who were outsider once upon a time. Like Robert Frost was an outsider. He migrated to America. There, and then he said, but that connection is a very difficult connection, because he will never speak of those people in that manner. He himself is that outsider in encroachment of the land that is being done there. So whatever, if people see the ecological damage that is done in America and with the Red Indians, there is a great role of this white people, European people who migrated there. So it was a clash, and killing is a different thing, but they also came with disease also. So people who come from other land, they are immune to some kind of disease, but the people who are aboriginal, they are not immune to those diseases. So they spread disease also among the people, and that way also so many people died there. So lots of that massacre which had happened in that concept. That's why Robert Frost, when we see eco-critically, we have to question Robert Frost also, that what way he is trying to look at that idea also. So Ladakh point also is in the same way, that there is a corporatization of the thing, that now it is not an outsider, it is within a country. Within a country, there is a fertile land, there is an empty space of land, which is a myth of empty land. Which is a myth of empty. People say that Ladakh is all empty. Let us give to the corporate, they will make a beautiful place. Tourism will grow. That is what people say, and they will get a chance to get a job. Young people will get job. That's the thing. But are the local people ready to do that? Or rather, in that narrative, there are no local people. In that narrative, there are no people there in Ladakh. Ladakh is an empty land. So when we people talk about Jammu and Kashmir, people don't think of people living there. They think it is a swarg, it is Jannat. We will enjoy going there. We will be able to buy land now in Kashmir. But it is not an empty land. It is somebody's land. But how we easily, through WhatsApp narratives, try to conclude that there is an empty land and anybody can purchase a land there. So that is the case with Ladakh also, which is a different case than what Robert Frost is the one who has done that. In that way, we cannot deliberately, but that is a part of the history where you are doing something and you think it is not wrong. But posterity would say that, well, that was also wrong, and you were not able to see the wrongs which were done by you people there. So that is that missing link with the two examples that you were trying to give in context of eco-criticism in Frost's poem also. So this, and then Akshay, on feminism you were talking about. Margaret Fuller, you referred to. Now, in the article that you referred, there is that clutch which with contemporary insight needs to be re-examined and questioned also. For example, this article you referred to, from where you have taken most of your content. This is Akshay, and this was this feminism in Harry Potter from the perspective of transcendentalism. It's a quite well written article. Your presentation also was well prepared. Arguments were supported. But what problem is there which needs to be addressed? Or maybe in semester 3, when we will discuss further cultural studies and post-colonialism and feminism, at that time, these questions also might be very important to address. Now, see, in this, we find is that this male temperament makes him strong and fearless. Female temperament makes him kind and careful. Now, this is very problematic statement. This means that you are already giving essence to the people before their existence. Male is strong and fearless. That is the essence of maleness. Now, women also can be strong and fearless, and men can be kind and careful also. But here it is stereotype. This is where we discuss essence and existence, which Simone de Beauvoir questioned this. So Margaret Fuller cannot be read in that context, or this stereotyping is a problematic one. This feminist reading of Harry Potter also becomes highly problematic in that context. So the female protagonist of the novel, Hermione Granger, which is discussed in that narrative, is again not suitable. Many people have already criticized this idea. So only being self-reliant or self-dependent and transcendental idea is far-fetching that idea a little bit in that context. Normally, transcendental idea about self-reliant was about minimalistic life. Minimalistic life, that was more important concern there. But again, even when we see Walden, Thoreau going to the pond, he lives there hardly 2 years. Then he has to come back. You can't live forever there. But there are people who are living forever there. But we call them uncivilized people, jungly people. So that is the, we go only for picnic. So we see nature as a picnic, and then we see divinity, motherliness, care, and all those. So this all writers of American Transcendentalism, these points are very important to be taken care of when they try to see those references there. Now, Bhumi talked about this point. It is good that you also shared some of those links from ChatGPT, which gives a very good case study to understand that how generative AI can give us responses which we want from it. It's like a mirror. So the way we want to see the things, we can see from it. So that example also we can get from that. So you presented and you asked these all questions. So you have given links, so we are able to open and see loss of innocence. You asked loss of no, this one is the another one. This one you asked. These are the lyrics of the song "Bejeweled" by Taylor Swift. Could you please identify in which lines we find individuality and how can we connect it with Emerson's idea? Now, if the same thing, if you ask in this manner, for example. This is by lyric by Taylor Swift, and I'm asking, like, it tries to resonate with Emerson's Transcendentalism, philosophy of individualism, and I think it does not resonate with Emerson's Transcendentalism. Do you agree? If you ask in that way, that doesn't agree. So how it will give an answer? It gives a very interesting answer, long answer also. And it somewhere tries to give that counter also, that there is this self-reliance, non-conformity, embracing change, individual change. However, it is important to note that the song's primary focus is on personal relationships and overcoming past hardships rather than explicitly engaging with transcendentalist philosophy. That Swift or any writer as such is talking about this idea, then we also have to connect with some evidence. Evidence like writer has said that Taylor Swift has said that she is impressed by transcendentalism somewhere in an interview. Those evidence are necessary to connect it very strongly. Otherwise, this marker, however, these all things are important things. There is interesting case study of the similar nature in this article. This article is on Virginia Woolf, Mythic Patterns in To the Lighthouse by Boltner, Joseph Boltner. And a very interesting premise is taken by this writer, Joseph Boltner, to prove this, which is what we need to use when we try to connect something that is far-fetched kind of a thing. At that time, this way is very important. So the writer wants to see mythic patterns. Now you will have to prove that Virginia Woolf was aware about mythology. This is the story of 100 years back. At that time, all these myths have a common connection, the way we discuss in the class, was not known to the people. People were not aware that there are all these myths and these myths are connecting with each other in different ways also, the influence of myth also there. Northrop Frye was supposed to write archetypes in 1950s. It is before that. So Northrop Frye has still not written that article about archetypal thing. After that, the story is different. But before that, if you are talking, then you have to ask that question. Was Virginia Woolf aware about mythologies? The books were published. But what is the sign that those books, like James Fraser, we have seen, T.S. Eliot is taking ideas from James Fraser's Westing's book. Golden Bow, another thing. But had Virginia Woolf referred to those books, we have to bring evidence. If no evidence, then what? So this writer is trying to say is that in using myth as an approach to work of literature, he makes that point very clear. The critic can make one of two assertions. The artist knowingly used the myth. That is one you say, that the artist was aware and used the myth. But you have to prove that artist was aware about mythology. And for that, you have to give some evidence from biographical sketches, from letters, diaries, or somewhere the writer has written something. So you can say that the writer is aware. Because 100 years back, things were new. All these things were quite new. One thing is this. And another assertion can be that the writer was unaware. And everything became subconsciously. Today, we can understand the idea of subconscious because Carl Jung has given that idea. Psychologist has given those ideas about subconsciousness. Archetypal is there. So we read that maybe subconsciously Virginia Woolf was aware. But at the same time, the writer also says that she has written something. Virginia Woolf's diary shows that she read Greek, and on not knowing Greek shows that she venerated it. And even had she not read Jung, Freud, Fraser prior to 1927, she would have known about them through members of Bloomsbury Group. So there is a biography. We know that there was Bloomsbury Group. She was a member of Bloomsbury Group. All learned people were there. They might be talking about all these things. So maybe Virginia Woolf was aware. She is in a group where people might be talking about what new books are coming up, what new things are emerging. And so also that can be done. But again, these are all, it might be not kind of a thing. And that way this says that. So in all these things, there is no direct evidence that she consciously used myth in the writing of his novel. This is very important. So when you make this present, you can say that Taylor Swift consciously made an attempt for transcendentalism. There is no evidence. But maybe subconsciously, unconsciously, it might have come, because some philosophical ideas can come anywhere, anyhow. When we connect the things, we have to be very careful. That was that person aware about those ideas, or it just came subconsciously or unconsciously. So this article can become a good example to see that how one can make a space into something which we are trying to connect. And here also we can see that when we connect with this AI tools, when we ask in a different manner. So these generative AI tools are very good to see. We have to ask them what we don't want as an answer, or what we dislike to see as an answer, or what are our assumptions. Try to fight with us. So I am thinking in one line, I want to think opposite of that. Let me give to ChatGPT and say that if this is wrong, then what? Do you agree with me or not? Some another ideas it might give us. That becomes very important also. So that was the question, I think, asked by Akshay, that it was intentional or subconscious. So that is where this becomes very important to see that. Darshan present, the word obsession is having a negative connotation. So when we want to use it positively, then obsession is not the right word to be used. So that is like too much attachment. And this TWO2 is, we can't replace it with very. Somebody is very good and somebody is too good. So it is not similar. Two is negative. Two એટલે ડાયાથી વધુ પણ ડોટ ડાયો. Is too good. આપણે એમ કહીએ કે too good છે એટલે એમાં એના વખાણ નથી થતા. Very good માં વખાણ થાય છે. Too good એ ડોટ ડાયો છે. ડાયાથી વધારે છે પણ એ યોગ્ય ન કહેવાય એ રીતે છે. It is not a positive way that we say. So obsession has the same negative connotation with that also. When Margaret Fuller, you also this also was referred at that time. This article is now to be seen, and this one, which maybe in the next semester we will discuss with ecofeminism. So at that time also this will be important. So Sherry B. Ortner's article is female to male as nature is to culture, which may help us in counter arguing with many of the ideas which comes in this manner. DHATRI's was good connection, presented well on this Bob Dylan and this. The genesis of that as a protest was there. That was a good connection, that the song is having the protest, racial protest in America. And the questions also was good. I think Darshan asked this question, crime and caste, when people see the things, and was quite well addressed also. But we can see that when the crime is emerging from caste, then it is read. Otherwise, people don't read it. Like there are many people from a particular political party are in prison, but nobody is reading the caste of anybody. There are many people who are out of India, Malia and so many other people, Choksis, but nobody is doing caste criticism in that. There are criminals, but it is not based on the caste. So nobody is reading that to which caste these people belong to, who are in different kinds of corruptions or other things also. But when it is emerging as a part of caste dynamics, then the reading of the caste is what people normally do. Bhumi also asked this question on music and cinema and this. Why this is very important? Because that's why we shared that video earlier, that music and Nazis. Because music, cinema, narratives, stories, propaganda, literature, they help keeping people in nasha, in nasha. Or like today we have WhatsApp, digital nasha, or digital opium, which is third. And so people remain into those things. So sometimes literature also, if they don't address the real life issues that are surrounding, then they try to keep large number of people into amnesia, into this kumbkarnas, and they are happy. And pankho karwa ma ke sui jao nirat. Tamare suvanu chhe, હું જાગું છું. That role literature is playing or not. That is why that becomes important to question whether how art and creativity also plays a significant role. HARDI on this Tyrone addiction. Also, there was this question about divine punishment. You can connect this with Jude, Suzanne also. Suzanne also was converting into becoming religion on that ground, that she also tries to read that it seems to be like a divine punishment, that the children are murdered by the another child. But maybe I think when you will, the motherhood trauma that are discussed there, maybe in African literature you will study another text, the joys of motherhood. At that time, this kind of things can be resolved also, like how today people try to come out from that idea, or to bring people out from that idea, that there is nothing like divine punishment in this. Don't be in trauma because of that. Because of that conditioning of the mind, that something happens and so divine is unhappy with me, is doing lots of damage with the people. There's lots of damage with the people. So people needs to be brought out from that idea that divine is there to punish everybody. It is not so as such. HIRAL and this too, Kusum presented well, because you gave some examples also about Iceberg theory, Hemingway's, and theory of omission. That was so that those examples were lacking in HIRAL's presentation. Illustrations from the novel, and was a good. There was a good question by Jayashri and was answered also quite well. Which is like this makes a reader also active in being as a reader. So there is the text is created by reader when they read this. Jayashri's presentation was on Spanish Civil War. This is a very interesting reminder that though that war was defeated and the dictator, the nationalist people won that civil war, And all those people who came from different countries to fight, they all were defeated by the nationalist front. The Republicans, with the help of so many outsiders, also were defeated. But what is how the history looks at those things is that there was somebody who was fighting. That is very important. Even if people see that you will be defeated in this, you can never win such a mighty forces. But history will take note of even a lone person who was fighting. So for history, somebody will have to just stand there and resist the dynamics. And when the victory happens at that time, people will make all those stories that God is with the victorious people. It is the Ashirwad of Ishwar that so and so people are winning and all those things. But these are all false narratives. When the time passes, people die. New time comes, histories are written, and then Franco and they become mere dictators only. And those who were resisting, even though were defeated, they become heroes to see that they were the fighters for the rightful cause also. The reference with the Subedar Major Mir Dast is still not proper because that was civil war. And civil war and the war among the countries are a different thing. Civil war, andaraj, gruh youth. This is where. And when Subedar Major Mir Dast is fighting for British Army, I think Belgium, Ypres place is there. So that was not such a civil war. That was a battle war. It was among the countries. So that connection we need to check again. Insiders killing insiders. That is civil war. Insider only. There is no war from outside, but people within the same country are fighting among each other. Maya, you still need to do some improvement. Keep on reading your slides, record your voice, listen so that you can improve. In Nanda's presentation, there is a good possibility of comparing, but you are not able to go much deeper into comparing both the poems there. Vishwa, this island and Iceland, two things are different. Iceland and island. So, trauma also, some words which were not pronounced properly. Some words like this, Tyrone or Tyrone are pronounced in variety of manners. Tyrone or Tyrone, then that is acceptable. But when you pronounce a word which is another word, then it is problematic. Iceland is I-C-E-L-A-N-D and I-S-L-A-N-D is island. Okay, so with this we end today's session. Best wishes for tomorrow's.